Well. Okay.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is our special meeting, City of Bellevue Common Council, Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It is 5:36, and I officially call our workshop to order. Please mute all cell phones if you're in the house, and unless you're emergency personnel, and on Zoom, please stay on mute until if you're called upon, which we don't have any council members on Zoom, so we're good. Go ahead and do roll call, Amy, please.
Mayor Jadani,
Yes.
Councilmember Obana. Yes. Councilmember Bergen,
Yes.
Council President Shay.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Notice of agenda compliance, finding that the special meeting notice and agenda were posted in accordance with Idaho Code 74-204 within 24 hours prior to the meeting at the City of Bellevue City Hall, Post Office, and on the city's website on July 10th, 2025.
I will move that the notice for tonight's meeting was posted in accordance with Idaho Code 74-204. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call for conflict as outlined in Idaho Code 74-404. Any conflict with tonight's agenda?
I have none. No.
Okay, thank you. We will start our work session. So what you have in front of you tonight is the feedback that was taken from previous budget workshops, collaboration of myself, our treasurer, and your department heads to get to kind of the numbers that you see this evening. I want to start the evening off by being very clear that the budget that Bellevue has and will have for 2026 is really intended to provide the basic services that the city is committed to providing. There is room for growth in what that could look like in the future. But at this time, we are able to provide a library with one librarian who can keep the doors open 4 days a week. We are able to provide base level street services that include street sweeping, cleaning of sidewalks, repainting of red curb striping, snow removal, and basic trash removal and maintenance within our parks, and keeping our buildings standing. Within our community development department, those base level of services is what we've been seeing happening, with a focus on growth in not growth in terms of, hey, let's grow Bellevue, but growth in the identification of what our shortcomings are within the department, what our shortcomings are within our code, what needs to be amended if needed in code, what our long-term planning looks like. So just working through that level of services. We can dive through the different departments, but what I've presented for you tonight as well is a focus on health and safety. How that plays out is looking at our 5th marshal. I and other council members and community members, as we've seen through public comment, highly value the safety of our community and value the addition of a 5th marshal. And that is what you will see in the budget tonight. There has been no alteration to our fire services that our chief presented to us. Because again, placing a value on our service, our fire service to our community. We can begin to dive in to each of our departments. We have our department's head here ready and willing to answer questions. I think what we need to generally look at as a council at this time, knowing we have right now a $90,000 difference in where our budget is sitting, we need to think about what's important, what services we are able to provide with this budget, and if we need to make cuts, what those priorities look like. I think that I'm open to kind of working through with you what that looks like. But I think that's the general goal tonight, is starting to truly understand what we can afford, what we can provide, and what that looks like in numbers. And drilling down a little bit more with your department heads, if you have questions, on any specifics of services, or kind of anything within their department. So I would like to open it up and have a general discussion about that first page. If, you know, what are your initial questions? I know some of you have come prepared with information from previous budget discussions. So tonight's your opportunity definitely to ask questions to your department head. Kind of generally ask questions about what the future of the next year is supposed to look like with this budget. And have bigger conversations about projects, goals, what the monetary sums look like in terms of impact. So I'd open up the floor to start the discussion.
Do you want to go in any order?
I kind of like
the, work on, the taxation, doing liquor and stuff like that, cause I'm gonna be gone and out.
okay. So I think what you're talking about is let's look at potential other revenue opportunities
yes.
versus cuts to start.
Yes,
Okay. I have had a further conversation with Mike Gotindia from Clear Creek. And so a couple revenue ideas to put on the table to discuss. Franchise fees in terms of Clear Creek. There will be more information coming to you in terms of the details of what that could look like. But the ballpark for revenue on that would be $35,000 a year to add to our top line in franchise fees. And then the other topic of revenue discussion could be lot taxes. In particular, being that we're a resort city, we've discussed this before. Right now, we have a bed tax at 3% that sunsets in 2027. We have the opportunity to add more categories, one being an overall tax, one being a food tax, that'd be like restaurant food, not groceries, and the third being liquor by the drink tax, which would include liquor sales, beer, and wine. Exploring that can range in any level of tax that you would like to see. Some cities have 2% within our valley on liquor. I know that Sean, being a business owner, said he likes the idea of something about around 1%. 2% could help us gain upwards of potentially 20,000 a year. We'd have to do a little bit more discussion with our restaurateurs to truly understand, but with the addition of the liquor licenses, the resort city liquor licenses, we are seeing an increase of beer, wine, and liquor sales within our city limits. So those are two revenue options that we could explore to.
question. To Gannett, I think Country Club is that a part of, you know, they apply for a license for us, do we get their?
I don't believe Gannett Country Club, are they within our city? They're not within our city limits.
Apply them with a liquor license,
They
beer and wine.
They have a beer and wine license through, not through Bellevue.
We approved it. It was a liquor license from.
In our last approval last night, that was Valley Country Store. I'm happy to look back,
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
Gannett Country Club wasn't on the list.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, happy to kind of discuss
That's,
those revenue options and what that would look like to help with, income, because we have not, in years past explored other income options at this time. We've been doing a lot of cutting.
I'm a suggestion. 1% for food and booze. 1%, I'm sure that's gonna be a lot, but if it's 20,000 for the food, it could be potentially 45, 50,000. So that includes all the, you know, there's a lot more restaurants that probably don't pay anything.
Is this, so does this percentage, if it was on food, is that just for restaurants or is that groceries?
Restaurants.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And restaurants only,
Unless we did an overall.
and
Which catch
beds, You know, if you go to 4,
No, I'm just saying, unless we did an overall,
yeah.
yeah.
That has to go for a vote, right?
It does in November, yeah, so.
My recommendation, is because it does have to go for a vote, that it actually not be included here,
Okay,
but we would amend if we got revenue that we hadn't planned on and budgeted for, we would then have to amend our budget to utilize those funds.
Why it ends up coming up around budget though, I feel like it's an important discussion because
Yes.
it keeps getting, brought up and dropped and brought up and dropped. But as you're looking at your budget here, you can start seeing, we keep having to cut and cut and cut, and we're not having enough discussions about bringing more money in and more revenue and top line. So I think that it's a relevant discussion to continue to have around budget season, because it keeps getting dropped off the scene every time after budget. It came up last year. It didn't happen. So if it's something that the council wants to pursue, I think we need to have discussion about it, make a commitment to it, and then pursue it, because time is of the essence when it comes to lot taxes and ballot measures.
Yeah, September, we have to know if we're moving forward by September
And that's any of the law taxes, not, I just want
for the ballot.
clarification.
Is there a date
I don't know,
off the
Amy,
top of your head?
is there a direct date, September?
I
Beginning
don't have an
in,
exact date, pretty sure September. I'll find out for you.
Okay.
I can get back to you, if that's okay.
I just know those dates come up awfully fast.
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone else from the council have any opinions on lot taxes?
I think that it would be good for us, because especially when you think about. It's not just locals, let's say we use the services or purchase, and not to say that the locals don't sustain a lot of the services. But we have people who impact our communities that drive through, their visitors, and that's why we have the ability to have them. And so it's nice for us to be able to provide a level of service for our city, the people who live here, as well, like, to make people wanna stop and keep them from driving through.
think
To
about
keep
the
it vibrant.
amount of people that are driving through our community that live south of here. It's gotta be 5,000,
Yeah.
10,000, it's gotten so large, it used to be 3,000, now it's at least 5.
I think it's they collected over 22,000 hours. That's
Oh, no.
ITD, huh?
Per day.
Yeah, per day.
22 one way.
Yeah, one way, yeah, that was the counter. So,
Well, how do you make that?
and we put up the toll.
They don't allow tolls in Idaho.
Whatever, I already.
Nobody asked for it.
25 cents.
Like what I do.
Thank you for that feedback.
We're a charter city, so I think we can do.
Oh, God.
Jessica, any opinions on?
I don't think we should do an overall for like taxing on groceries. I feel like groceries are so expensive as it is. I'm a little bit torn because I have seen businesses, I do try to frequent the restaurants around here and they are struggling, so, going to 2% would seem,
That's what you said.
so you're in it,
Is it
1%.
yeah, you're at
It would be-
1%. I don't know how.
But we are a, resort city, it's where resort, like liquid.
Right, right.
So and it's gradually changing, there used to be this Bellevue wasn't in part of that scene. And even Haley back years ago was not part of the scene either, it's just Ketchum back and Down Valley,
It
but
would
it's all
be,
changed now.
it would be nice to send an email to the restaurant owners to see how they also, I don't know, feel about like, I understand we need a revenue source, but
Yeah.
also how it.
I have had preliminary discussions with,
Okay,
a
okay,
sampling of restaurants who are in favor of.
Okay. great.
Sean was one of my holdouts, so, we had a discussion, and he's like,
And so the predominant guests at your restaurant and most of our restaurants are they're not Bellevue resident. Is that accurate to say or not?
My clientele,
Yes, the most.
oh, it's
Do you have?
I would say 60% Bellevue, 40% Haley, a lot of Haley people, because you know, Southwood side is basically Bellevue, it really is. And the rest is tourism, so. And fly fishermen, you know, people come in here, play hockey in the winter time, you can stay in her hotel,
Mhm.
you know,
Enjoying.
ski touring, and a number of things.
So from whom is the lot supposed to generate revenue from? The residents or guests?
In all the cities that have lot taxes, it's a mix of residents and guests. The intention of the lot tax is to offset the impact of guests coming through communities, resort communities. But the burden of the tax does fall on the consumer. So that is mixed of who lives within the community and people who are transient through the community.
Right, so what is our percentage?
That's why
In
I
our community.
suggested that it's 1%. No, that doesn't, it really doesn't affect our, you know, our bottom line too much. But you said before yesterday, that, you know, our restaurants in general are suffering throughout the world or United States, you know, and yesterday, a gentleman approached me and said, that's big, I read something on New York City, the restaurants are down overall. Ozempic, and said, maybe, and you know, the drugs and making that eat, I'm going, it's so prolific, going, oh, that could be part of the problem.
And we're not trying to solve the lot tax solution today. I just think that, I wanna, again, preface it by saying, I think there's a habit of cutting the Bellevue budget and cutting the Bellevue budget. And I haven't seen in years past a real attention to revenue and increasing revenue. I know that, Councilmember Reed has talked about, you know, revenue, how can we get creative, how can we get creative? We're not solving the problem tonight, but I think it's important to acknowledge things that are available to us that we need to start considering down the line. And I think that lot does need to go to a vote in November, but we have to activate if that's something we're going to go after. And that is an option. It's a tool in our tool belt to start bringing in more revenue for the city of Bellevue so that every year when we get to this table, it's not about cutting. It's about what more can we do with the money we're bringing in? What more services can we provide for our citizens? What more services can we provide for our community? We need to do better, we need to do more, and in order to do that, we do need some more funding. And so.
Well, I agree with you. However, I would argue that I'm still completely unclear what the specifics of the current budget is. And I think that it's easier to look at these additional revenue streams. And I 100% agree that you need to at least make a decision and be fully informed before that date.
Mhm.
So yes or no before those dates.
Mhm.
But, and that if there was compelling evidence that we were delivering on a number of these things, then I think it's an easier sell to the residents when you say, just to clarify, these are the things you're getting. And let us show you, and this is when there will come, and this, and we deliver on that, then of course, I think you're gonna find that people will say, you know, this has been great, and I'm on board with that.
And that's great, and I think that's part of the general discussion of if we are in some kind of agreements to explore lot taxes. I think that we very much owe it to our citizens and our community to say, this will convert to this. I agree with you completely that it should say, this money is coming in and earmarked for these deliverables, and this is how you tangibly will see them. But I'm starting to hear some yeses that we're open to exploring this in a way that I haven't heard with past councils. And so if there's not an overarching, no, we don't want to do this, I think that I'm going to put that back on myself and staff to bring that to you for a larger discussion outside of budget workshop.
I am wholeheartedly in support of exploring this further and moving forward with a tax, with an LMT on liquor by the drink.
And
Food.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know about wholeheartedly. But, you know, I appreciate that we should look at that as a revenue source, sure.
Thank you. Chief, you had your hand up, is that something?
So- as part of staff and everybody as staff and some of us that's been here through multiple mayors, they've always, this has always been brought up,
Mhm.
you know, so, you know, for you guys in there, it's, you know, we're tired of cutting. You're tired of making us cut,
Mhm.
you know, so these taxes, you know, you put it out to the citizens. Tammy was there, Sean was there, we did a levy increase two times, you know, or three times it took us. And it finally, you know, the council and the mayor at the time said, okay, it's gonna go this much, you know, this much to the library, that much to the fire. Streets and the marshals got a little more, but it was $175,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood, you know, so. And then it passed, you know, so that is being transparent, you know, to the citizens and a lot. I mean, I go out to dinner, you know, I try not to, but I don't go, oh no, I'm not gonna go to that place. You know, or Sun Valley, cause it's 2% more than Ketchum or Haley, it's just, or, you know, all over the world, it's out there and it's like. You know, yeah, it's shell shock when we get that bill, and if you really look at it, and, you know, but it supports the community. You know, if I have a heart attack and I'm eating a cheeseburger at the restaurant, then that guy's gonna come there and take care of me the best as they can. You know, for the marshal, you know, if somebody tries to rob the place or whatever, but it's just part of staff, we need to. You know, we can't keep sweeping it under the rug, we need to at least try.
Thank you, chief. Let's dive in and, look at admin. We have our admin staff here to field questions on that. Yes, go ahead. I'll draw your attention to, the carryover that's included in this budget. We have $150,000 carryover.
Sorry.
Mhm. Yes, it's in the first line in your ad.
Sorry, I was looking.
I would like to know the complete monthly cost for all Casell subscriptions and each Casell subscription and how much was spent on Casell during the previous year.
The expenses for Cassell are under operating expenses. And it's, computer, software and subscriptions. And the amount that we have spent in terms of, monthly fees was included in that $9,564.67. The onboarding, there was training costs that are in the training line item. And travel, when we went to Utah to be trained.
Okay, you know what, I'm sorry, Shelley, I won't make you go back like that, cause those are already the sunk costs.
Mhm.
So let's look forward, so
Yes.
monthly, and I know I just asked for that, but I didn't mean to delve.
It's in here, it's
into the-
32,400 for the year, it's your second to bottom line
Okay.
on page 1.
And how does that compare to other solutions that were, or have there been other, accounting solutions? I know previously we were in QuickBooks and it was decidedly less expensive. And I'm not saying there hasn't been an investment in this, but we're carrying really significant overhead for very limited solutions. And I don't consider this type of analysis and decision-making to be cutting. I consider it to be astute fiscal management of what we're doing. So when you look at getting an entire QuickBooks Enterprise Suite for $2,700 for the year versus $2,700 for the month, you know, those are some of the things that I kind of just wonder how we get all the way here and we haven't made some of these difficult decisions or as departments to make your department more fiscally lean, mean, and yes. I mean,
This goes
yeah.
back before most of us. Council decided.
And we could
to
do
purchase-
the history, we could do the
Yeah.
history. It is of my advice at this time to fund Cassell for 2026. Our staff has invested a lot of time and energy into this technology, and with any new technology, there are growing pains and uptakes and all of that. We have discussed with staff that if within the next 3 to 6 months, there has been a significant decrease in productivity because of this software, that there is interest in either returning to QuickBooks and saying this software did not work for us, or making a lateral decision with the same monetary budget to a better software that I would hope, Suzanne, you would help be guidance on. I know you have offered to, I know you've done research before. It is of my advice to fund what we currently have with the assumption and the understanding from all staff and department heads that exploring other software to replace Cassell is a priority if Cassell does not function in the way that we thought it would for the city of Bellevue.
Okay, I understand that, and I guess, and thank you for that. I guess what I'm trying to do is point out that we haven't followed best practice so far in preparing for this next budget, where we are continuing on with, I'm sorry, but it's an inferior product, and we're gonna continue, and it's difficult, but I
I
understand.
understand that that's your
Okay.
opinion. I
I
totally
know.
understand that's your opinion.
So I'm
And I
just pointing
think
it
that,
out.
yeah, we
Okay,
have to
so
allow our
that's fine.
department heads and our staff. There has to be a transition period whenever you uptake new technology. And I feel that the cost, I know, but your world is technology, and I totally, we can agree to disagree on that.
Cause it's really gotten these stories that these things take years and.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
tens
years,
of
I'm not
thousands
saying
of
years, we're
dollars.
talking about months right now, and I think it's
Okay.
perfectly acceptable to continue to allow our staff to handle the transition. And the uptake of new technology does have cost to it. It has more staff time, more training, so it does have cost. It's not a, hey, we can pay 6,000 for this and 32,000 for this. There still is cost to it, as you know. There still is training costs, there's still staff time costs. So I think it is the most prudent for our city to continue on with the technology we've invested in. And as we heard from our public works director last night, get moved on to meters. And while we're doing that, keep our eyes open and assessing if this is the right technology for us. It is a very large line item. I do not feel that that is the best use of city funds, but at this time, I also don't feel it's the best use of staff time to do a dramatic transition.
Okay, thank you. Is an analysis of more cost and time efficient payroll solutions or the adoption of such a system part of this budget?
Is an analysis of that?
Did we evaluate other way? We have considerable costs around some of these functions.
Mhm.
And so what did we evaluate that was perhaps less costly as we look to streamline and make our departments more efficient?
In terms of technology, in terms of focusing on
Or
Excel?
process or, yeah, I said payroll specifically.
Payroll
Because
specifically.
we have an employee primarily dedicated to payroll and AR, right? And
Mhm.
that's a considerable line item for the city. And I'm wondering, as you look at those things, what may have been done in terms of trying to streamline that because of what is available today?
Evaluations were done, in the spring, middle to late spring, in order to understand the efficiencies of each employee. And a rework of job descriptions was done to make sure that we weren't duplicating efforts between employees, and so that we weren't replicating our cost, between staff. And we have identified that each position within the administrative budget is a vital position to maintain the function of City Hall. Each individual has a full plate of work that they are currently doing, in their designated categories. And, and so the analysis was a review of job descriptions, as well as employee reviews to understand, people's strengths, weaknesses, and rooms for growth in order to, better serve our citizens.
Well, and I don't necessarily suggest that I'm saying that any particular individual is not capable. I'm suggesting that when we have $75,000 line items and there are software solutions or contract services that could do it for a fraction of the cost, that we need to be looking at these more closely, and that was my question about.
Understandable. It is my recommendation as the mayor that the staff we currently have is very valuable. There is a large amount of intrinsic knowledge that has been developed throughout the years with the staff that we have on. We went through a big time of transition at the city of Bellevue where we had more contractors than we did staff in-house. And our city suffered from that. And what you're seeing now is the rebuilding of the damage that was done, in my opinion, from that decision. And so previous mayor and I thought it was very important not only to staff our departments, but also to retain and fill in our support staff. I think that every staff member currently in City Hall is valuable and is worth their pay. And with guidance from the council, guidance from the mayor, and putting better systems in place, I think in the next 6 months to a year, we will continue to see an increase in efficiencies. We will see an increase in the foundational fixes we've been working on. There is a momentum at City Hall, and improvement is happening, and improvement will only continue to happen by investing in the staff that we currently have at City Hall.
Okay,
May
so,
I ask a question?
yes, please.
Yep.
I just wanna make sure too, with some of these things that are being done, even Cassell, and I did hear what Chris Johnson said last night, our public works director said last night, and I think that's kind of a critical piece of looking at this holistically right now, because I know even those QuickBooks, like, if you look at just a financial impact of it, it may have been cheaper, but it wasn't really effective to run the city on. We weren't getting billing done in a timely manner, and potentially we're not billing properly for, I mean, our biggest consumer, our biggest income is that water and sewer, those water and sewer bills. So that was why that was decided like years ago when we put in place to facilitate this, and I think it would behoove us to be, because the investment is made, to continue, because I do see, I know Sean can speak to it too. And Diane could probably toss in her 2 cents, but there has been, I had noticed in with you as mayor, and I mentioned this, I've seen a great shift, and I'm really happy about it, and I feel confident about it. We still got a lot of rowing to do as a council, and you have a lot of steering to do as a mayor of the ship, and so I appreciate that. But this particular movement and delineating people's job responsibilities and keeping them in the lane to support the whole is gonna be important, and I think it'll increase our revenue also, on top of increasing our efficiencies and effectiveness, so I appreciate. That's a big chunk. But then we can come back to it too, once we know it's gone online with water and sewer, with the meters, and we can start tracking that more effectively. And it's operating properly the way it should, because we can't just throw away money that was spent. It can work, not every program.
And if it doesn't,
Yeah,
you have my commitment, and you have the commitment of your treasurer, that if it does not work, we will throw away Casella and move on to something that does work. And with the intention of saving more money.
Okay, it hasn't worked really for the last year though, so
It hasn't
But
been in for a year, Suzanne.
It hasn't
Probably
been,
right.
we went live last,
We went live in March.
March was
So
our
you're not
live date.
counting all the onboarding and all the time that it takes to get there, is that right? It's only when it's
I mean,
actually.
onboarding is the part of the process.
Yes, it is, so it
Yeah.
should be included in your analysis of how long the transition hasn't worked, that's fine, that's just a matter of. And I'm just trying to establish just the fiscal attributes of what is in here, like I said, because it's the accounting, so. It sounds like I think that the contract versus employee labor, I'm absolutely in favor of staff in most positions, no doubt. I would argue that the contract labor, a lack of management is what usually fails with contract labor, but. It seems like in some respects, at least for the water department, are we still with that, we are maintaining some contract work and things like that because they're specifically associated, but.
We're maintaining contract work and also, you putting money in the contract, labor line item. As it has a bit more flexibility is the intention there.
Right, so, okay, so thank you. Did you have something else, Jessica? I'm sorry, does anyone have anything, cause
I guess what I would like to say is, so we're focused on admin here, and these are just
Admin
kind of
and
running through a
accounting.
list of questions.
Yeah, because they're, this isn't accounting and admin.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking,
Yeah,
I'm just
yes,
asking if we
yes,
could
yeah.
popcorn around a
So,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah, yeah,
more, and then we'll
absolutely.
come back and we
Absolutely.
can.
I guess for like admin and just general fees, we've been talking about implementing, just updating the fees, and is there a general sense in percentage wise, how much there will be an increase?
So the
Mhm.
increase in fees that are going to be brought to council. Either the 28th or the following meeting, Amy and I are working on that, it has to do with noticing, and just making sure we hit our right schedule marks. They, on the community development side, have been included on your fee increases and a bit on the admin side. Park fees would be the one where there's a little bit of wiggle room still, depending on what those fees get set at, which haven't been allocated in income line. But all the recommended fee increases, have been, considered in this top line of your budget for those departments.
Thank you.
Quick question. On the telephone, this is backup worksheet, 11,000 last year. 26,000 this year.
I can explain that.
Okay,
So, I'm trying to simplify some of the accounting.
okay,
And in the past, a general fund is all out of one pot.
yeah.
Right? And so instead of charging, community development, parks, buildings and grounds, everybody their little bit, which takes time for the accounting department to allocate and invoice out, it's all coming out of admin this year.
Okay,
So all of the general fund, now the water and wastewater portions are paid by water and wastewater, but all the general fund is coming out of the admin.
same thing with liability insurance.
Liability insurance
Yeah.
and workers' comp.
Okay,
So that's why you see the increase in the admin. The admin budget is essentially the same as last year, if you take those factors out of adding those additional fees in.
And I know there was possibly some conversation about going back to 5-day work days because of work that needs to get done within City Hall. Is that considered?
Well, what you have here is still a 40-hour work week for, staff that's 40 hours, and we have some of our admin staff we have half our admin staff that's at 32 hours. And half our admin staff that's at 40 hours. They are working for 10s. There's discussion, about 5-day work weeks, but that doesn't change the numbers necessarily in terms of the cost of the employees.
Okay.
Suzanne?
Was there an analysis of potentially better employment packages, as part of this budget for the purpose of improving employee compensation while potentially reducing payroll costs?
There was exploration, there has been discussions of other benefits we could, offer to our employees. But at this time, in reviewing our current wages are in line with the rate study. We're below on a few and we're a hair above on some. They're in line with the rate study that we had done in 2023. So the exploration of a reduction of wages, was not on the
Employee compensation, total compensation,
total
as
compensation.
opposed to just salary.
Okay,
And I say that only because, there are considerable, additional costs for Percy and all of those things that vastly, so when, cost of living raises seem impossible because of the size of our total compensation packages.
Let me-
So have
yeah.
any, like.
let me clarify, in this budget in front of you, there is no cost of living. included in this budget.
We took it all out.
COLA is not included in this budget.
Okay, well, I guess then, as we're talking about this and saying how much we value staff, that's something that it seems like a lot of, or at least periodically, people are expecting cost of living, and it should be something it seems that we should be analyzing every year, and part of that is, for example, if we made 401k contributions, they would not be subject to Percy. And that doing something like that, instead of a cost of living wage or something like that, costs us differently. And so those, and I guess these questions have to do with more with process, is to see what process was. Or
So health insurance is explored, every year. The timing sometimes lines up with budget,
It's always behind
and
budget.
it's a bit behind budget.
Yes.
Percy has been identified of a very, high level benefit to our employees, so the exploration of something other than Percy.
It's within Percy, but it's exempt from additional taxation if it's a 401 dictated, it doesn't get
Can
counted
I,
for Percy.
can I just ask you a little bit to drill down on how this, ties to budget? You're saying exploration of another option within Percy could save the
would
taxation costs that we're paying per employee? Can I
Yeah, so
understand?
when you look at it, and I discussed this in that email that I sent, when you look at, we pay a $26 salary per hour, but it really costs us $45 an hour for that person.
That's part of the
Because
benefit
those
package
costs,
of the
right?
employee.
Because of,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yes.
But also in doing that, a lot of that cost does not actually directly benefit. Some of it does, Percy, and like, but there are other opportunities, maybe instead of cost of living raises, which would be greater if be on a total compensation package than saying something like, hey, we can start contributing to your 401k because it's not an eligible Percy cost. So just things like that are just part of, that's why I was just asking if it had been part of the discussion.
No, because
Um,
Percy has been identified as a high value, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but
It's a
First
all
choice,
different.
401k.
the Percy
Yeah,
choice is the
it's-
401k.
It is
There's a separate.
every city, every county.
Okay.
Okay, we want to.
I mean, we're getting in the weeds
No,
on
we're not,
something
it's
that.
process, and if you were to save $10,000 in a couple of these different places, in 9 places, then, and that's.
Shelley has done the due diligence as she does every year.
It's not, Shelley is not the one who does the due diligence, it's when you are defining staffing, when you're defining the functions, and I'm just trying to understand what's in the budget and what the analysis was. For example, I raised questions about, is it 3.5 weeks of paid holiday? And is there a way that we could lower somehow our total compensation packages because we provided a better benefit than that? Apparently there's 3.5 weeks of paid holidays. There's 11 state holidays. I don't know how it get to 3.5 weeks, but all of that is multiplied through Percy because we have to pay on paid holidays, but you don't pay on the 401k contributions. I understand what you're talking about. There is a differentiator in Percy. Those types of analysis and decisions start to pull back reasonable money, not scraping, not cutting, but things that mean we have analyzed things effectively.
So,
So-
can I say something?
Yeah.
I appreciate your analysis, and we've been going in the weeds to this. Come here with solutions. Where is the revenue? You want to increase.
You
the
wanna
wages.
tax it, I wanna make sure we're spending responsibly. I wanna know, so I'm asking questions because I have come with.
But you've
Everybody's
also-
doing their
Samples of
job.
what happened.
Everybody's doing their job.
You know
In here,
what,
we're
then
fully
look at the
staffed.
roads.
Then we haven't been fully staffed in how many years?
How about those lights on, didn't I start?
Oh
the
my
with the
God.
Lights on,
Okay,
the-
but
what's going on?
We're going in circles. You're chasing
No, we're
your tail.
not. I'm not, I'm asking questions about.
I
what
understand the
is in
questions you're
budget.
asking, but you've had these numbers in front of you for over 4 weeks. So instead of sitting here and asking for us to do an analysis at your level on
I'm
your
asking,
terms.
was it done? That's all.
And I'm telling you that our treasurer has analyzed what currently exists for our staff. And there has been questions to staff if they're happy with their benefit package. We have also let you know that when it comes to holidays, that comes to council's table when we review our policy manual. And that is at the time when we can decide and make adjustments to that. There is process and procedure to get to what you're trying to get to. And I understand
I'm
that
not
you're
trying to
asking
get
if that analysis has happened in this budget cycle. And yes, it has, because it has happened throughout the year. And what you are looking for is really great questions and great solutions. But you have the numbers in front of you, and if you feel that what you're not hearing is satisfactory, you are so welcome to then do that analysis yourself and bring us back what you think the solution could be. And that's where we're getting to here, is because you have great questions, but you keep just asking the same questions.
Well,
And we're
nobody
giving you
responds to my
answers,
emails.
they are responded to. Shelley responded to your
Christina,
email.
I sent it to you, she responded with, I'm gonna have to quit if you keep asking these questions.
Because the way in which you asked the questions
Oh my God.
was incredibly disrespectful. There's a fine line
Let's get it up
between
there.
analysis and there's another fine line between how we're speaking to people. I understand
No,
that
no,
your
no, no.
intentions are good.
No, no,
I
no,
understand your
I'm not gonna
intentions are
accept, I'm so tired of being told, I ask a question, you don't reply to any of my emails, you will call me right before a meeting. Diane only calls me if she wants to complain about my
Let's say
newsletter.
it
So, no, these are the people that I
I'm
communicate.
sick
the
and
most.
tired of this.
Diane, you're telling, I'm being told that I'm I think I would like to hear exactly how those emails that ask these questions are disrespectful to staff. I wrote back because you asked me a question. I wrote back line items of what I was discussing, and I thought I was being courteous, and the next thing I know, you're quitting. So I don't know exactly what I wrote that prompted you to quit. I asked questions. Everyone
Let me
seems to
rephrase
think
that.
I'm
Let me
making
rephrase
people do
that.
things.
Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase the word disrespectful. I think when I'm saying disrespectful, the way in which the questions are being asked correct me if I'm wrong, the way that you're asking the employee the questions is making it seem like they are not doing their job, that they don't know what they're talking about, and that you know more than them. And I understand that that might just be the way that information is being communicated, but the guttural reaction that you are receiving from staff is a direct reflection of how you're asking the questions. And so it's not necessarily, why is the staff not giving me what I want? Has there ever been a moment to say, how can I re-ask this question so we can get to the answer that I'm looking for? Yes,
Actually, I've tried, I've brought in, this is like the 5th iteration of ways I've tried to approach. I have created full presentations for every department that I thought could be helpful.
Have you asked the department if they wanted you to create those presentations?
I didn't, I simply did it to be helpful if they had questions about how, I didn't force anything on anyone.
Let's just
Why wouldn't I do that? Then let's just
have a
continue.
timeout.
Yeah.
Let's get a
We're
timeout.
gonna take the time out. The marshal has had his hand up. I'd like to call upon the marshal.
We were just, at one point you guys were talking about analysis. With very minor analysis, because that's all I can analyze. Amy and I, were chatting about some of the health insurance, and one of the things we were looking at. It does sign us up for a 3-year contract with this one company, but if we went with them, it would actually save the city over $18,000. And it's better insurance than what we currently have. With the insurance we currently have, it's gonna go up. I don't have that exact percentage point because math is hard. But it was roughly $100 an employee.
And to clarify, when does that renewal come into play in terms of the
The
time?
renewal of October,
Okay,
and our agent actually can't even give us rates yet. He doesn't have
Actually,
to.
just
We
got
just-
them about 20 minutes before the meeting.
Oh, okay,
Haven't been
so we
able to
just.
look
these analysis are happening. Sometimes timing does not exactly line up with when we're reviewing these numbers.
Especially with health insurance.
But- But you will get the most up-to-date information as it comes, when it comes to things of that sort. So again, if there,
That's.
And can I have it? That's the other, I mean, is it available or no?
at this time, it sounds like we just 20 minutes ago got some updated information. So right now you cannot have it, but before, when it becomes available, yes, everyone can have
And
it.
as the numbers change, I update these.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions, kind of in the admin category, I do want to respect our department head's time, so if there's direct,
One more.
go ahead, yeah, of course.
So I see the city council, 30,000 for this year, what were previous years, and I'm just curious about this number because, well, Tammy and I were actually talking about our average hourly rate, and it depends on how long of our budget sessions they've been 4 hours plus meetings plus.
You don't want to calculate
Meetings
that.
and lunch. So
We're
probably
making
maybe $5.
$5 an hour. And the amount of.
Let's put it this way,
Yeah.
and Tammy, can do it, we work for nothing, because we took this, it wasn't 30,000, it was 15,000 a day. But we ourselves,
150.
yeah,
This budget does not factor in a wage increase for council or the mayor.
I
It
think
is.
about decrease,
You're talking about decreasing.
yes. I'm just saying, we don't get paid jack crap, especially you, Mayor, and you know, but it's an idea.
I said I'd forego mine and give it to you, or all the work
Yes.
you have to put in.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Maybe just kind of a question on the admin and then maybe an overall question. It talks about the percent change from fiscal year 25
Mhm.
and it's 19.13. Now, I assume part of that is in response, is as a result of the consolidation that occurred with the liability insurance and. just
Yes,
Yeah.
that accounts for that.
I mean, if that is deducted out, that consolidation, then what's that, not, you know, what that number is then?
I didn't have time to figure that. I did think about that. But I did look enough to know, if you look at the fiscal year 25 budget of 540,470 for admin. Okay,
Mhm.
before telephone but after liability insurance and workers' comp. My number was 545, so I was within $5,000 of that number. So that percentage would change dramatically.
So that's about 1%, or maybe a little less than 1%, actually.
Yeah,
Except for Casella. I mean, I guess would you split Casella? I mean,
Cell is in the administrative piece to be reimbursed from water and sewer, their portion.
that's
And then I guess maybe on a kind of more general level, this is new information to me. I don't know whether I should have come in today and picked this up at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock or sometime so that I had a better feel for how this evening was gonna go. You know, but one thing I guess that would be helpful to me is maybe to know what sort of presumptions are included in this with a little more detail. I mean, I've learned now that there's no COLA, so that's something that has occurred in the last 3 weeks, because I was working off the draft from 6/24. So that's one thing. Are there other things that, you know, there's an additional police officer?
I'm happy to run through the different departments and tell you any kind of overarching adjustments and or intentions for the different.
And maybe
areas.
as we work through
Yeah.
admin and then we go to the others, that kind of would be a nice introduction to all of those, so that I had a sense of.
Well, I
No
want to be
change,
very
something.
clear that, just because COLA isn't included in this budget, if that is something that the council feels that they would like to add back into the budget, that can happen. That just changes the landscape of the numbers that are on here.
Sure.
So in order to get to a more, conservative budget that was closer to balancing, it is my recommendation to not do COLA this year. But at the end of the day, that is the decision of this council. And if you feel differently than what I am presenting, with our staff here tonight, and that is at your discretion.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
wanna
not,
make sure
I'm not
that's clear.
making a judgment about that. I'm just saying that's something that is information that's new to me tonight.
Thank you.
And I guess the other thing too is on the revenue side, is that including a 3%? You know, and how does that 3% budget increase component weigh in? I mean, as I calculate this, we're a budget change, if we eliminate this deficit, we're still at about 9.62% increase from last year to this year. Is that accurate math? And is that a budget increase that's acceptable, I guess? Is maybe a question, and maybe that's true because we have revenue from other sources, and so, you know, that is maybe just something that I can explore here and learn a little bit more about as I study this, but, some of those presumptions, if there are more, that would be, yeah, helpful to know. I'll sit tight, we'll see as we go through those, what kind of things are changed, and then I'll learn more.
Okay.
Maybe the final thing I would say too is, there's 6 of us. 6 of us, we're gonna contribute, you know, as we choose in this budget process and whether there need to be some parameters to that kind of contribution that we should discuss as a council. Maybe we should discuss that, so that, you know, that's true in any legislative body. There's some parameters to how much you can contribute in sessions of this nature. And maybe some ground rules in that respect would be appropriate to enforce that.
And so that was my intention in opening up the meeting for you as council members to decide what, as I've been saying, is what you would like to see provided from City Hall for your community. And so I understand that could be seen as not very clear. But we talk a lot about, you know, what's important to you as an individual council member and what's important to your constituents. I think that throughout your time as you serve, you intake information from your constituents, and you have items that become, that you hear that are important for your constituents. And I think it's important to make sure that those things are either funded in this budget, or you are aware of how this budget is funded and what that impact will look like moving forward. So that was the framework in which I, you know, recommend that your eyes are making decisions for this budget, because you are a representation of your community. And if that is not kind of the guidance that you're looking for, please give me feedback and ask another question that I can create guidance with.
Good. Yeah, I think you talked about the various presumptions that will go, and we'll just move through this. I think that would be the most helpful thing to
Great.
find.
Okay,
Go to the end.
I'm gonna take off.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank you.
Keep you in our thoughts. Thank you.
So I have a question about the total cost. We have 3 accounting staff, right? And what is that total?
We do not have free accounting staff.
We have me as treasurer.
Mhm.
We have Marcy as our accounts payable and payroll clerk.
And Percy,
And anything associated with payroll and anything associated with accounts payable.
So, right. And no billing.
Billing has been moved into
All
water and
bills.
sewer, for water and sewer utility billing.
Right, but there's other billing, right? There's licenses and all that.
We don't bill for
We don't
those.
bill none of those, that's all just with the licenses. Okay, so.
There's monetary intake happening, but that's not.
Yeah. So there's currently 2 accounting staff.
Mhm.
Okay, and that,
That have very defined roles.
yep, I understand that, again,
And the other staff works 32 hours a week.
yes. Okay, thank you, and then I think the other, administrative question I have is what levels of customer service are funded with this budget, both at City Hall and for public services?
Can you define public services for me so I can? Answer
Well,
it.
the ability to come to the window, and I think that I'm certainly a proponent of 5 days a week, and there should be somebody at the window, and so to me, that's a service level agreement. And so I'm wondering, with, this budget as proposed, what is in it?
This budget is
pertaining to that.
proposed, in particular, the shift that we are seeing is that the previous water and sewer clerk is being moved into a deputy clerk specific position. And the water and sewer billing is being moved into the water and sewer division exclusively in terms of that billing. So we are relieving hours and time to shift into an increase in that individual being, she is currently available for customer service. We are not in this budget, making a commitment to shift the hours of City Hall at this time, but there are discussions of what that would look like. I think, in my opinion, there needs to be employee buy-in in order to make that an effective transition. And so the conversations have begun, but there has not been a final decision made. So the level of customer service is having a dedicated person to come to the window. And the only time that person will not be available is when she's taking lunch or is out on leave. And then we are cross-training and or have cross-trained to ensure that our clerks are also available to fill in. So there is, whenever City Hall is open, customer service is happening. And with that, the deputy clerk, myself and the city clerk are working on outside of city hall hours, how citizens can have access to the information they need, either via external permits being available, better signage outside that would have QR codes that could scan and take people straight to permits, scan and take them straight to bill pay options, kind of digital and or physical solutions outside city hall, as a kind of a stopgap between being open 5 days a week.
Okay, and am I gonna offend someone if I say what funding has been designated to that? Is that an inappropriate question?
No, that's not an inappropriate question.
Like, how much has been contributed to that? It's like a $10,000 initiative or a $20,000 initiative?
It has been, it's a steady state, sorry, let me clarify, where you're seeing that transition is,
Procedural.
it's procedural changes, it's not monetary changes from, year to year.
No, I understand. Okay, thank you. And I guess finally, the last one, I think that's an admin, and maybe not admin, maybe it's more of a overarching, but, is there any specific commitment in here to emergency preparedness for Bellevue? And beyond what Blaine County or what have you, the types of things that are post-emergency crisis that we already know we have great people to deal with the crisis. Is there just any currently focus on that in the budget?
My opinion, and my contribution to that would be, the funding of a fifth officer, so that we have, well-trained, not overburdened, emergency services. So other than, that, there has not been a dedicated dollar amount other than personnel in our emergency services.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, go ahead.
Mayor, with update of our source water protection plan, it includes an update of emergency response plan that is focused on the water, but it can be broad enough to bring in the other departments and
So
points of contact, and that's already part of our this coming year's budget.
personnel and, another one I would just say is in comp plan. A little bit of allocation funds in comp plan that'll be addressed, but an individual line item, no, but in personnel, yes.
And I guess maybe also the final one, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, I was open to community development since you said.
Oh,
that.
no, yeah, sorry, this was just had to do with, what the confusion was last night, over an ordinance that the residents are required to, address the status of the hydrants during the winter.
Let me just stop you. I never said it was required.
An ordinance, I'm sorry, an
Okay.
ordinance that said that the residents need to.
I also never referenced an ordinance. I simply said that it's I individually
Mhm.
did not reference an ordinance. I referenced that it was a collaboration between our public works department, our fire department, and our residents in order to,
Okay, I just want to get back to the topic actually, but you can watch the video, it starts at 2:39. But, what I wanted to get back to was, since we've established that it is not, code for the residents to have accountability for those hydrants, is that something we need to look at, or is that something that will be funded for this coming?
it currently is funded through our staffing.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how to explain that better than we have individuals in departments who have jobs that have to do with maintenance of the city of Bellevue. And it comes in the form of whoever is engaged with that unit, i.e., our fire, our water, our streets, it all ties into the general maintenance fund, which I look forward to getting to once we get to the streets department. Chris Johnson, you had your hand up?
I did find an ordinance and it doesn't directly say that it is the responsibility, but and briefly, any snow or ice placed, plowed, or deposited within 25 feet of a fire hydrant onto any public street, alley, or sidewalk or other public way within the city may be removed by the city at the cost thereof and should be paid by the owner of the real property of which the snow was removed.
Yeah, I think that we don't want to have a discussion about that.
That's,
That's an individual.
Then let's stop bringing it up if we don't wanna have a discussion about it. All right, moving on to community development. Thank you.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, we're moving on to community development when we get to fire. Have the discussion about fire.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Tom, questions?
No, I guess I don't have a specific question. Is
Can I make some call outs for you then?
That's wonderful.
Okay, great. Brian, I would love to engage you for this section of the discussion. Brian and I went through this pretty tooth and nail to look for fluff. And there isn't much in here that I could identify as non-necessary. We did make a little bit of a reduction to the comprehensive plan. We reduced that by about 50%. And other than that, I would love to just kind of talk about that $5,000 value in terms of the comp plan and what kind of that conversion will look like.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really things that myself and my department don't have the capacity or skill set to do, so it would include things like if we need some professional graphic design work, photography, Spanish translation, things like that in prior documents and outreach and materials, so that we can develop and have a plan that the community feels proud of, have invested in, and provide body that will actually work in. So that was the budget for $5,000.
Everything else within this department, is it's personnel, it's the people, so it's Brian, it's the addition of a planner who has been hired and will be starting in August 4th, and it's the small attribution to the community services manager who has been uptaking kind of the outward city hall communications in forms of newsletter, social media, and serving on the established events committee, I apologize. Yes.
The publishing, I'm seeing that's going up significantly. Is that just what we're publishing, the public notices in the paper, and none of that's being reversed for, that is straight? Is that all newspaper?
The publishing, the direct publishing at 52060 line item 400. That's direct.
Oh, sorry, right, sorry, this doppel, right?
Oh, the
Right,
doppel.
my eyes are starting to go sideways.
I'll let Brian
So
address that.
double, that plan review fee is contractually obligated to be 65% of our building permit revenue.
Okay.
So when building permit revenue increases, as we're projecting a little bit this next year, it will. It's really
Yeah.
past it
Yeah.
right now.
And to clarify, it was always the intention of this department to have a department head and a planner. Previous mayors have had those two jobs outlined, and we've been flying those positions for quite some time. In bringing on a planner, that will allow Brian to focus on a lot more of the big picture planning that is necessary. And like I said, cleaning up a code. Kind of the comprehensive plan ties into the big picture planning, but a lot of the work that we've been discussing about how do these things keep happening? How do these things keep getting approved? How is this coming to be? Well, a lot of that is things that need to be changed and rewritten within our design standards, reviewing of our zones, and that work. Having a planner will allow Brian to focus more on that big picture work, which is what he was hired to do from the beginning, and which is a big part of his job description.
And if I'm just trying to make sure I was looking at. And I didn't cross-reference that any other department, so I'm not singling the department out. But under personnel, it says 227, 826, and I just want to verify again, no department got a COLA? No department got a COLA. Because then, and if you look at the worksheets, it, on the, based on what it shows for salaries, 227, 825, that matches up. But then if you look at the worksheet, it actually shows a lower number with the COLA, which is really weird.
Oh, that's old. That's,
I know. But I mean,
The 227 is total payroll, so it's not just wages. That is, overtime, health insurance, tax expense, retirement, planning and zoning commission, that's all included in the 227.
I guess, yeah,
So I think are you seeing a discrepancy, Tammy, that I need to look into? a
I
little
just,
further?
I'm just trying to, cause they're,
And I can see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do. She is seeing, a previous document here.
so there, I know that was from June 10th, but
I'm
I'm
seeing-
seeing with everything.
I'm seeing what you're seeing, Tammy, thank
And
you.
it with the COLA, so I didn't know if those numbers were actually taken out from the other departments. This is the first one I looked at and saw it that way. So I was just trying to figure out, it's got everything in it. That number is still there, but with the
Something,
COLA,
something, I would have to look at the numbers, but I mean, something in here changed minorly, but every time I change a number, it changes. So I would have to look at each one of these line items, but this has been replaced with.
Tammy, I'll make a commitment to you
Yeah.
that Shelley and I will go back through and make sure that COLA didn't get carried over in any of these calculations.
Yeah.
I mean, cause that.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not thinking that they don't deserve raises. I just mean for the sake of numbers, looking at, if we're gonna look at numbers.
I made a note.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
As a council, how do we come to terms with or justify that the community development payroll is almost 3 times as much as the fire department payroll? As a community and as a council. I mean, this is a vital service for all residents here currently. I'm just wondering how, I know it's been an evolutionary process, but these are some of the most essential services that we provide. And I wonder how we get to $250,000 for community development and not have a properly funded fire department.
Sounds like the chief wants to make a
Oh.
comment.
Without community development, you wouldn't have fire department. That they bring the most in the general fund, other than taxes. Plain and simple. If we didn't have them, there would be no development, there would be no funds.
And so you think the only way to get those funds in is with $250,000 spend? Is that kind of what you've seen in the,
or maybe too, it could put a higher burden on your job, because if we don't have you doing your job the way
Well,
you
it
should,
does.
We
Yeah.
just,
then that you're gonna do more fires and
the
more.
population increases, so does the tax base, everything increases. So.
I think to answer your question, Suzanne, I think in more of a philosophical way, that's you as a council member of what you value and would like to see in your city. And it's what you think your constituents value. And I think, individual council members might have individual opinions on what the value of community development is. I, as a mayor, value community development because with proper planning, you get the best and the most intelligent development as your community grows. You have thoughtful buildings, you have thoughtful landscaping. A lot of the issues that we're having now with some developments that went in were during the gap of not having a leader at the helm in our community development department. And we're seeing the direct result of what fell through. And so I think leadership in that department and somebody whose responsibility is to have eyes on that is how we don't keep making the same mistakes that Bellevue has made in the past with some of the issues we currently have.
but I agree with that, but he's not getting $250,000. There's more than one person there. We have a leadership person there.
We do, but the leadership needs support in order to continue to focus on big picture.
Understood.
And maybe having come from that background, I in budget meeting, before kind of refer to the community development as the responders. There's the responders, the fire and the emergency services, and the people are responding to things. But the community development is sort of the pre-responders in the sense that they make sure that your buildings are constructed maybe in a way that there is fireproofing. And you don't have to worry as much about the wildfire risk because of that construction. There is review of fire or review of floodplain, but there's less risk for responding in that respect too, because the floodplain has been designed and reviewed up front as opposed to being reacted to later. And so that always struck me as being kind of an appropriate evaluation. of the purpose of planning and zoning and land use and development was that they were evaluating those things from the very beginning. And as a result of that, maybe there was less need for response on the other side and the other end of that. And I use that to support community development for the county and would say the same for community development in the city. I mean, in the city, actually it involves quite a bit more because it involves design review, which is an important component, of how a city looks.
Thank you.
Real quick, something that always stuck out to me as, you know, a longtime firefighter with city budgets is. There was a longtime Haley chief that always said 10 to 20% is what the fire department should be in a city budget. Any more than that, we're overpaid, we're getting more than we need, and any less than that, we're underfunded. We're in that range. So when, at some point, that we are not in that range anymore, that's when adjustments need to happen, and we're there close enough. I'm the firefighter for a long, long time, and I would love to sit here and tell you, we need 10 full-time guys. But it's just not the case. We're not that busy. So I understand where you're coming from, but it's not a necessary thing right now. It may become a necessary thing, and I hope it becomes a necessary thing. But right now, it's not.
Hope it's never necessary. And then I hope I work myself out of the job. The price is hotline and we never need it, but it's good to know it's there.
Thank you for that feedback. Appreciate it. Any other questions in community development?
Is there any conversation, and just conversation about the person was already hired full-time? Would they consider less time? Just
Was that
thought
a yes or no? I didn't.
He said no.
I know.
And I don't say that we want it less than, I'm just asking for consideration to say that it was considered and it was asked.
Plenty of work.
Yes.
And that was a personnel decision, I guess it was made by the council last year to,
It was a previously funded position
yeah.
in the last
Right,
budget.
funded as part of this year's budget.
It was previously funded in last year's budget, the planner position in which he hired for. And so we're asking for a continuation of the funding, for that position.
We did fill that spot very briefly. The candidate did not work out.
So we have a new,
So we continued to,
Been a part
Roll
of
that
this
over.
budget.
yes, yes.
About isn't the, public affairs under the community services under community development?
Yes.
And what is the funding for that?
It's a continuation of the previous funding in payroll.
Oh, not payroll, I'm sorry, for, I don't know, are we planning on, okay, I guess I should say, does this budget include, improved communications and just kind of general improvements that happen as you're with the website and we kind of, started and stopped the website development, and is there any plan to continue to work on our communication tools and with that part?
It is, funding the current website. And it is funding the community services, personnel position to utilize the tools that have been developed. And so those technologies do include, MailChimp for newsletter communications. It includes Canva for design tools, and, brand identity packages for the city of Bellevue that then can be applied, cross-departmentally. And it includes, the WordPress package as well.
Okay, thank you. In 8 hours.
8 hours a week, yes. So personal. We can go back to that, but let's move on to fire. The budget before you is the budget that the chief presented.
So, the one that I presented 5 weeks ago or what, however long ago, it did have a 3% cost of living in there. Right? That, when I presented it, it said
Yes,
right
it has
here,
a column.
and it's still the same, so there's a few dollars for you guys. I'd rather give that up
Chief,
Any one of my guys would.
yeah, Chief, just to clarify that your increase in wage was a merit raise and it's not a cost of living increase in your wage.
And another thing, every month in our council packet, I put our numbers, I put our response time, what kind of calls. Once a year in January, I put a year in there. So,
Yeah, I guess I have follow-up questions and comparisons with those numbers. Yeah.
but if you don't read them.
I do. Yeah, I
And
just,
they're public record, they're in the packet,
Mhm.
they're in there. So,
do you wanna outline before I ask questions?
Yeah, so my outline is that, the chief received a 3% merit raise and that wasn't a COLA. So that's why it was not removed from the budget. And, everything that you, see in here was what was previously presented and discussed. So if there's any questions, we can kind of review it, but, yeah, Chris?
I have one thing I'd just like to bring up. In previous budgets, there has been construction and improvement for the fire budget. Buildings and grounds, that money was taken to buildings and grounds. He has a standalone building, it's operated by the one department. I think we should highly encourage him having a budget to keep his shop up and running and maintained, so the buildings and ground budget can use to help support City Hall, the old City Hall museum, and a few of the other buildings. He knows what he needs in there, his roll up doors and stuff. I totally support him needing that, but it's just really hurt the ability to support the other buildings that we have.
Thank you for that feedback. Chief, do you have any follow-up on that, if you feel like that would be a value to shift a bit of repair and maintenance into your own?
it's shifted back and forth 18 times in 20 years, you know, so it's totally up to you guys, you know. Whether it's budgeted in my budget or buildings and grounds, you know,
So with this budget, just to kind of clarify in terms of, we're talking about level of service, with this budget, there's no reduction in the level of service that we are receiving from our fire department. There's no cutting of personnel, there's no cutting, there is a steady state, carrying on with the current level of fire service that the city is receiving.
So, Chief, just a couple questions. I know when you were originally presented, like, I understand how vital you are in our community. But, the one thing was, you said you've been at the fire station for how long? 20 years or long time, right? How many?
32 years. I've been
32,
here.
32 years, and the population increase, your budget hasn't changed
No, it has
that
changed.
much? Okay,
When I took over in 2005 as the chief, it was $62,000. Today in front of you, it's what, 195. So it's the lowest it's been in quite some time. At one time, just say for instance, the safety line, 57, that was $80,000. Tammy knows, Sean knows, we trimmed it down to about $20,000. And, you know, we struggled to keep our gear in compliance. So at $40,000, as Tom pointed out on the sheet, is still, you know, if I get 3 new guys and equip them, it's, you know, we gotta trim somewhere else, so to speak, to do what's proposed in here. What I have listed on this sheet is $44,000. I could triple that, you know, but I'm willing to work with the whole city budget, you know, whatever it takes. It's like the I don't wanna sit in here. I gotta get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work. I sat in here all night. You know, doesn't need to take so long. If we need to trim $90,000, then I can hold off on spending and put 20,000 into carryover. You know, as my contribution, and trim $10 here or $100 there, just to, you know, time is valuable. All of you guys, you know, to be, you know, so, and is there any more questions? Sorry.
So the total of 119 incidences, how many did you respond to and how many did Blaine County Fire respond to?
Blaine County Fire, what
Of
are you?
the South Station? Do you have do you have those numbers?
Did they come to my calls in the city? So we have auto aid with Wood River and Haley, and it goes both ways. So, I mean, how many times did they come here to Bellevue? Yeah, I don't know, you didn't ask me that in the email.
Okay,
I do have those numbers,
okay. I was it
So-
was curiosity
so just-
about.
so this year I've gone to Haley 36 times in our auto aid agreement. I've gone to Wood River for auto aid 2 or 3 times. They came here 1 time, Wood River, South Blaine County, whatever their name is today. It's BC South,
BC.
but they'll get on the radio and say Wood River. So I don't know what their name is. We have always,
We've always been on we
Upper,
give
yeah.
more service than we receive by tenfold most of the time.
it's probably, we give 60% to their 30%. Yeah, they came to the fire in January. That's the only time I've had, maybe, well, I think 3 times this year, the auto aid has gone up so far.
So I just wanna acknowledge that Chief put some money saving strategies on the table. Is that something you would like to ask a fire at this time, consider? Is there any monetary adjustments you would ask a fire to make to their budget? Or to contribute to the whole city budget?
I guess if you're saying that, you know, if we're responding in part of the auto aid, are we receiving any funds from that auto aid, or is that just a contribution? If you're saying that you're getting 60% and they only give us 30.
How the auto aid response is that if there's any funds received, say I put out Kristen's house and she pays me for it, which they would not, but wildland fires, whatever, then there's a reimbursement process over 24 hours. We very seldom set on a fire for more than 24 hours at a time. So they don't charge us to come here. We don't charge them
there.
You know, like we do contract with BLM, Idaho Department of Lands, but I don't have enough personnel to ship my guys for 14 days at a time. So. we
So what
do-
does that look like? You said you contract, so you contract the volunteers with BLM then?
Yeah, we have in the past. We bought over $150,000 worth of SCBA's a couple of years ago in our bank savings account. We blew a motor in our fire truck. We didn't pay for the whole motor in the fire truck, but we had funds in there to balance the money to come up with it. You know, so. But right now, as we currently stand, we're not staffed enough to send people out for 3 months in the summer and make those, you know, thousands of dollars a day for this. We do have in place that, you know, Tony wants us to come and, you know, staff his party or whatever to be fire suppression, and we can bill him out for that kind of thing. But we don't, you know, just like today, if you go by, north of Reconstruction, there was a fire in a bush right on Main Street. Didn't hear about it, I didn't hear about it, I heard hearsay from somebody that saw it, 8 o'clock traffic, nobody called us. You know, maybe they thought we would bill, some jurisdictions do bill. But we don't, we have not, I don't even, people. They would never call 911 until their house looks like that trailer house. I have pictures 15 minutes before we were dispatched of that thing fully involved, so. Just that helps.
Yeah,
I do have those numbers though, and I keep track of it on a daily basis on, we go to Cary, we go to Ketchum, Fun Valley, whatever, but. Our enhanced auto aid with Haley does it, we have gone there 36 times. Well, we responded to the station and either covered while they're dealing with whatever incident or, responded to the house fires or whatever. So we do help and they come here too.
I mean, my general reaction to this budget is that it's pretty lean. And then it's not requested more, it's actually lower than last year. So I don't know that we can ask more, honestly.
Then I would say at this time, thank you, Chief, for responding to questions. Let's jump into library really quick. Oh,
Maybe,
I apologize.
sorry, just one, I saw in some of the, kind of the budget overview, as I recall, talk about the leases on the vehicles. And if I recall correctly, one of the leases, and I thought it was on a fire vehicle, ended in 2026. Is it?
Yeah, the truck, my chief's truck ends.
So what happens then? We get a new truck, I mean, it has lease here, it has 12 months, 20,000. We just then get a new lease? Is that how the leasing
No.
system works, or what happens next?
We have an extra $7,000 in the budget or whatever. Brad, is it 7,500, Shelley?
I just flipped to.
Or that.
Sorry.
And let's clarify, it's not a lease, it's a payment.
Yeah, we
To finish own-
we own,
Yeah,
The vehicle.
7,500.
Yeah,
so
so
we'll have,
We own the truck.
okay, 'cause it kind of was, again, I apologize for not being able to locate that, but we own the truck now, or the payments are done in February on that vehicle? 'Cause
Yeah.
It says here, auto lease, 12+ months, $20,000. And if that is, if we're
So-
paying up for 5 months more on a loan or a lease or whatever.
There's another piece.
vehicles, our fire truck that we bought, 13 years ago, structure engine, and my chief's truck sitting out front. So the chief's truck is gonna be paid off in February, the last payment. And then the structure truck that we paid $40,000 for a new engine is in 27, it'll be paid off in 27.
If you look
That's
at,
right.
they're on two different line items, if you look at the fiscal year 25 year-to-date column.
And then they're consolidated.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that was just a question. Is a payment ending in February, therefore there will be some savings and shouldn't be 12+ months?
Both of them, when we pay them off, we will have to tie it up. We're not getting a new one. I don't even think I have 10,000 miles on that. I don't drive, what is it, one, I think they're 18. No, not even, it's like 7,000 a month, 11.
So one will sunset in 26, one will sunset in 27. There won't be any savings that fully accounts for the payments that we'll have to make in this budget.
Yeah, but what, the sunsetting, if you will. That's the question.
Thank you.
And I do have plans to get another truck out, brush truck for 1995. single cab brush truck that. You know, you stick 3 big guys in the cab of that, and you spend 12 hours on a brush fire out by West Magic. You wanna kill your neighbor. Yeah. We need a four-door, we need what the city got with that Kodiak or whatever, you know, that, maybe not quite that big, but at least a four-door, you know, 1 ton or 500.
But that's not on this budget.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Just for the future, I can see Tom thinking about it next year already.
Well, I appreciated your presentation. You had needs, additional needs. That was, I think, a valuable addition to your presentation.
I'm gonna say one real quick.
Real quick,
If you guys have any questions, Greg and I together have 65 years of experience in the fire service, and all of it's in Bellevue, except for just a few years. Please come and ask us. If someone outside of Bellevue starts questioning you or asking you questions about consolidation or any of that stuff, come and ask us. Please come and ask us before you give them an answer. We have tons of history on the way things have been, the way that it's affected our city can be very, very drastic. So please come and ask. My phone number is on the website. It's my personal phone number. I work at Franklin Building Supply. The number is 788-0094. If you call, I will answer your question. I promise. I want you to know and be informed of what is really happening, because what happens up here is not necessarily what's going on down here. A lot of the time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Library, I'll just, again, start us off here. We are, continuing, to provide the level of service that we have been providing, open 4 days a week with our, library executive director, Kristen here, who's with us tonight, who I just want to commend on, her stellar work on getting grants. A continued high level of programming for our community and those outside of our community. And a very kind of robust reach for kids and seniors and everyone in between. What you see is what the budget that Kristen had previously presented without any modification.
Thank you. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? I could make some, I missed some of this, so I don't know if we're making cuts or what we're doing, but my budget is also very lean this year. It usually is, which that's fine because I can find grants. Usually, people are, happy to help with library services. So this is just what the city covers, and yeah, does anyone have any questions? Anywhere?
I guess I'm just curious about the future.
We're not discussing that.
Okay,
this
got
time.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was just directed in my other meeting to just,
Yeah,
we're
okay,
not
great.
openly, I mean, we're just very scratching the surface on that.
We
so,
are,
yeah.
I am recommending to continue to fund the library at the current level of service to ensure that we, regardless of the future,
Yeah,
can provide this service for our community.
yeah, and I'll be here all through this next year for sure. And then we'll see what the future holds, and there will be more information forthcoming. Okay, yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
Yes, just gonna leave it there.
About it, and I can't, I've been good.
No.
Yeah.
I get it, but, oh.
And there will come a point where I won't be able to, one way or another, say what my personal feelings are about it, but if you have questions right now, is a great time to just come and discuss with me. But we're just trying to not let too much cat out of the bag right now. So, cause there's a lot we have to work through.
So take that, Tony.
Tony.
Three people tell me all about it.
Kristen, have you ran into anything with, I know that you're really great at getting grants, have you ran into anything with the current cuts? Be a statewide or had,
Not
Yeah.
yet, not yet. They will be starting to affect us probably this upcoming fiscal year. I squeaked in with a couple grants right before those cuts happened, and so that will help fund some programming, through this next, fiscal season, till next October. And then we'll see what happens there. So, but it's coming down the pipeline.
and
sure.
has there been any thought in with your board discussing about possibly giving you a QR code so people can easily donate to you for like new programs or new books
Yeah,
or things like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, QR codes, be a thing. Yeah, there's, yeah. They're not hard, I just have to kind of figure it out, but, and that's a great idea to bring to the board, so, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no questions. Anyone else?
I'm good. Okay. Thank you.
Done and done. Thanks, guys.
We're gonna move on to, the marshal's budget. Here you are seeing, there were, a few changes and discussions with the marshal on some minor line items. The big shift and recommendation for fiscal year 26 is the addition of a fifth marshal. That is seen when you look at your payroll line. That's where you're seeing, the adjustment. And I think is there a supporting, document there, Shelley?
I totally did not get it.
Okay.
I apologize.
So I
have to just use that.
So that has you, at a marshal, a, sergeant,
Marshal, sergeant,
and 3 deputies.
Which is still less than 23, or, yeah,
It's,
to point it out, or comparable.
it's still under 23 staffing levels, and it's still well under federal staffing levels.
So yes, I wanted to basically point out for, the marshal's, presentation, and for the discussion, the federal statistical standard is 2.4 sworn officers per 1,000 residents. And we have 2,700 citizens, so that would equate to 6 sworn officers. So while this budget does not get us to, the federal statistical standard staffing level, for officers, it gets us closer. And a large portion of the intention of adding this 5th officer, with the current load of work with 4 officers, we're running into a lot of overtime, and that doesn't. Not only does that have a budgetary effect, but it has a quality of life and a quality of potential service effect. You have marshals who are burnt out, and that can affect reaction and kind of service level. So I think in order to maintain and increase the quality of service we would like to see from our marshals department, we need to support that quality service that we're looking for and reduce the burden of overtime on an already stretched thin staff.
I think that's a nice way of the mayor saying that I've been here.
18 days?
Day 9 of 18 so far. Yeah, wonderful staffing. I'm day 9 of 18 and Mike is on day 4 of 9. If you notice, our operating expense has gone down a little bit. We've been able to cut a little bit there. The only increase is the 5th officer and I don't see it.
Well, can I say that we did have a conversation and I asked where a little bit of where the cutting came in was a new vehicle or a new officer. And the marshal said a new officer without a doubt. And so that was one of the line items from the previous presentation to now that was reduced to try and soften the funding within that department.
2 of our vehicles are 7 years old, we're starting to get nickel and dime, but we can suck it up for at least 1 more year. We're going to be forced to do something, but at that point, we only have 1 more payment on our Durango currently. We have 1 that's paid off, and then we have 1 more that'll be paid off this year, so. I will be begging for a new one next year.
So we're lumping along vehicles, is the idea here in order to not have our marshals limp along individually anymore and bringing on a fifth officer.
Can I ask about the city code violation fee? Is there any ways we can, I feel like there's lots of violations in the city that can help find you.
A lot of it's getting people out there to be able to do it.
Right,
That's the biggest thing. And you need to remember that code enforcement is every department, not just mine.
And it's not a revenue.
I know, sorry.
I will say something that the marshal and I have been discussing and came up in his yearly review was supporting him going out and doing more training and education on behalf of the city of Bellevue. So you do see a new income line item there. He has gone to other cities to provide training and education, and with the addition of the fifth officer, it will free him up a little bit to pursue that a little bit further. Again, not a moneymaker, but basically it helps, and it allows the marshal to further his services to the greater community. And I would imagine there's reciprocal education that you gain when you are training in other jurisdictions.
I'm pretty sure I learned more training than teaching than I do being taught. Hands down. And just so you're aware, we currently have 2 instructors within our agency. I'm going to be one of the, next year, my 1 officer will be at the year mark where I can send him to instructor development. I think every officer needs to be an instructor, even if it's just on how to write citations, because it makes you a much better speaker and just a better officer altogether. We're doing an interview next week on a gentleman that is already a certified instructor, and one of the places that he instructs, there's only 1 other instructor in the valley, so it would be a huge benefit to us to get that person.
And that would be for this 5th officer.
No, that's the 4th spot. We're currently down to 3 of us.
We lost an officer.
We had 1 that went elsewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
This year there was miscellaneous income. What that is,
That's the 8,900, correct?
or 82.
8,200. We sent 1 of our vehicles to auction, and I put that in the general fund as miscellaneous income, and we didn't touch that money.
So that's sort of a one-off situation.
Correct.
Yeah. And then how do you, on the court fines, 50,000,
That is a complete and utter guesstimation, because the people that wear the road give us the number.
yeah. Fair enough, I mean,
Now they're just gonna start feeding, right?
I mean, cause you see some years
you
at
see
60,
10,000, and then you see, 60.
we brought in 64 and 24, and right now we're on track to be around 50, so you just,
Use that.
again, my intention with this budget was to be conservative with income so that we aren't amending with overly inflated income numbers as has happened in years past.
So with that, and just as a question, that money the $8,200, did you already have it, like it's already spent in your mind? It's not gonna be.
No, that is strictly income for the city.
No, I guess not just for the city,
Will
for
it carry over is the
carry,
question.
oh, yeah, instead of 1,500.
Are you gonna use it this year or would that?
In my opinion, the general fund money that is brought in, goes back into the general fund is not my money. It is the general fund money and you guys wanna give it to me, I'll take it in a heartbeat.
I mean, because if it came from the sale of, it should be dedicated.
It should be a
Yeah, and it should go back into
I
carryover.
100% agree with Tammy.
Okay, well, but before we make that item change to the income line, is that not, are those funds that you will be spending in fiscal year
Oh,
25?
no,
Or will they,
I would prefer to spend it in 26.
okay, it could be dedicated carryover?
If you don't go over your budget for this year.
Why don't I mark that as something that we can analyze? And if it is available as dedicated carryover, we will move that over to dedicated carryover for the marshes.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tammy, for calling that out.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Do you have any fundraising events planned that you would like to increase your revenue?
We're planning on doing a little bit of stuff at the Labor Day function, but that is gonna be a nominal. However, I still think the classic cop work and we could make a lot of money.
Well, and there used to be a dunk tank.
Yeah.
That
was
you
the
know,
fire.
That
was the fire. Yeah.
We made a lot of money on cops and nothing. And mayor.
Well, it was right next to the beer garden.
$100 ticket and the winner gets to taste me at the end of the Labor Day. Yep. I would make a slug of money. I would cry in public, but I would still make a slug of money.
Just one question on the health insurance. I see it drop from 2023, rather significant. Is there a story behind that, or we just have a better?
Yeah, staffing levels, I lost several employees.
So that 63 is,
throughout the city.
the 63 is kind of your projection, including a new officer.
That is correct.
The 63 is based on, per person budget, that we have for the health insurance. Yeah,
So that includes
On the current number, just where you,
on the total payroll, yeah, for 5, that would be for the 5.
and we're hoping that that'll actually go down a little bit because of the other potential insurance we're looking at. It's not gonna be significant, but it will hopefully go down. Roughly 8,000.
And what is DIF, Marshall?
It's development impact.
And where does that money go?
It goes into savings for future capital improvements
For who?
for each department.
Dedicated departments.
So if it goes into, then
It's-
where is it for this year?
It's not usable for operating.
That's what I was talking about, cleaning up what I felt were inflationary income for the budget, because that is not, it's not operating income in terms of the top end, the top.
So I guess, so why is it, like, I don't understand how it's included as an income, like, how did
It was
become
last
an
year
income?
because I didn't know any better. Last year, yeah. So it's not included in any of the budgets for this year.
And so where did all that money go if it's not included?
It goes directly into the savings fund, the capital savings fund for future capital improvements for each particular department. So we have all of those accounts. That we have all of those savings accounts. When I present my reports, the balances, those are those monies going in there being saved.
But aren't those spent on capital expenditures then?
Yes, yes.
So then, That was
So
the-
roughly citywide, we're at a couple 100,000 total for the city.
We haven't spent it out of ours as far as for capital.
that just seems like a,
It's for infrastructure
yeah,
capital.
yeah, for sure.
So
No.
you need a pretty big project to.
It doesn't have to
utilize
be,
them.
it's, we set it up to be 5,000 or more, that's a capital expenditure, like based on our accounting practices. Something that has a value of over, a time value over a certain amount, a dollar value. And they need permission to request to purchase it, now I can't remember the dollar amount, but like new vehicles, they're considered capital. Right, not like new
would
vehicles
have
are
to look
considered
at-
capital purchases.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
these development impact funds, I think, are for infrastructure,
I guess that's what, I guess it'd just be nice to.
which would be different.
Yeah, it'd be good to know so that then we can,
I need to look it up again.
we know where that money is going, so then if we've got things that we're purchasing or looking at offsetting budgetary wise, that really are capital expenditures, it should be coming from those fees that we raise. And so I just wanna
No
make sure.
department head in their budget has identified anything here as capital expenditure to offset the development impact fee. So at this time, no department head has identified that capital expenditure to be used against a development impact fund project or money.
What could, and I guess with the, with understanding the definition, and I'm just picking this out, if maybe this is, or maybe this isn't. If it were the case that a vehicle is considered capital expenditure, we could go check 20,000. Check,
I don't even know how much I have in my actual savings.
and I don't mean the whole, I just meant, okay,
Well, I know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't,
Tom, can I see that? I think I had it, this one. I think I had it in here when we talked about it.
Yeah, there was some information in there about that.
Yeah, let me look. We only have a couple 100,000 total for the city.
But we only need 90.
I know.
But this, Tim, that's a great.
That is a-
I like your train of thought.
I like your train of thought, though. I have the page right here, it's page 24 in your budget book, in the very, very back. If we could look at page 24. This fiscal year to date, 3/31/25, and we could reassess those numbers. If you look at what we have there, I'm seeing we have $1,830 for the marshal. 3,000 for community development, 1,200 for admin, 2,500 for buildings and
I
grounds.
don't have the same sheet.
Am I on the wrong sheet?
I don't know.
This sheet right here.
Page 24, I guess I read 55,000
There's your,
total credit.
Oh, sorry, that was for 25. I apologize. I'm looking at the wrong side.
here's your first.
My
pass.
eyes went to the wrong column. I apologize. So yes, Marshall, 54, about 5,500 there.
55,000.
Where are you looking?
No,
Total
looking-
collected since May 2021, right? On the right-hand side,
Yeah, at the Marshall Department, $5,493.
Marshall, oh, I was looking at fire, sorry. Yes, Marshall, 5,000, and not even, it wasn't I don't know the dollar amounts, I guess I'm looking at. Like, even to the point of what's the definition of how you use your development impact fees, cause if we're raising them and we're charging them. It'd be nice to know what we could properly use them for.
Flip to the next page.
I probably had it in that presentation.
Doesn't it also say there that you have to use it within 5 years, where you do a special
It's
extension?
Yeah.
just that we
8,
use
yeah.
the 5 years.
But we've been collecting.
It's only been a few, yeah, no, it's all in there, I have it in there,
Yeah.
when we expire and.
Will
If you
expire,
recall, I said, no. I recommended that we work right away on.
Public safety facilities is the delineation
On
there.
working on a capital improvement plan.
Mhm.
We need to update our capital improvement plan. And utilize these funds in the next several years.
I think the
But we could
reason
still-
why that hasn't been presented is because of, to be honest, not, there's not a capital improvement plan that has been developed by these department heads at this time to allocate those funds to, because there hasn't been a focus on that. And per Shelley's communication, the capital improvement plan was the idea of how to initiate that and getting the focus on utilizing these funds.
But may I ask a question, Mayor? Could we still spend some of that money without updating our capital improvement plan?
Since we acquired.
In theory, if it meets the public, if it meets the definitions outlined in the code, in theory,
Yes.
we could. I think that would be a discussion with each individual
Yeah,
department head and as a council.
Didn't I put the code in there?
It is, it's right down.
Yeah.
Because there is a plan, right, that, I mean, there was a plan that.
There was a.
One.
It's in there too, but it's printed pretty small.
Yeah.
So I would say let's put a tab there. And maybe finish, we have one more department to look at. And unless you wanna dive into it right now, we can kind of put a little tab there as a.
I'm happy.
What is possible.
Yeah, I'm happy to revisit it. I just,
Yeah, let's put a tab in it and see, because what might be owed on the couple of apparatuses by the fire department could be considered. And it's just a way to look at this, if this is what it was acquired for, so that would pay down that debt. That's 20,000 there. To pay
Yeah.
down that debt.
Fire-
Again,
got the lion's.
I've been, and I feel the department heads have been looking at this as, savings accounts to, apply to what I understand to be larger, kind of improvements, but I see the, I guess, creativity in how.
and I don't even
this
know
could
that
be
they've been
utilized.
looking at it at all. They've been saying, here, money's gone there, and I don't.
Street lights.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know that we haven't had a leadership to go, hey, or, the rest of it in place going. Based on your goals and objectives and blah, 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 and based on the fact that there's $55,000 sitting there. For capital, capital improvements. Raised from development impact fees. And then we're coming up, it is 2025, we started raising them in 2021, we are on our 4th year. Time, so yes, and this budget is for the 5th year, so.
Well, I thank you for bringing that up. I will admit that I do think that was an oversight of mine in not catching the timeline on that. I know that Shelley brought that up, but I think that I appreciate you bringing that back to the table, as part of this discussion.
A lot of room for pieces,
A lot of
that's why we
moving
do
pieces,
it
yeah.
as a team, a little bit, for much of us to help. Cause everybody's budget is stuff, I'm trying to look for income instead of. Money.
What it's under the, street stuff.
Streets.
Are there any other questions on the Marshall budget at this time?
Oh. No.
Okay. We're gonna move on to our city assets, which is our combined streets, parks, buildings and grounds. We have dedicated carryover funds that are being brought over. On those revenue lines, you're seeing kind of the adjustments, state highway revenue. We did a projection of lot taxes based on what's been coming in this year without an increase for going after other lot. This is just what our current lot is. And the intention with this budget, when it comes to expenses, is to maintain our streets, their current state. There's been one project identified under your street construction area, which would be a ceiling project on one of our sections of roads that still has enough life that the ceiling project would be of value. And, in your, kind of your expenditure part of it, there is budgets for signs to replace any signs that are in, poor condition, as we see outlined in our, traffic study. A continued replacement of assets. You also will see, repairs and maintenance under your street. That is for the cold mix to continue to patch, and fill the potholes. So the level of service you're seeing here, ties more directly into, personnel who will be out there doing, the work. The main shift that we'll be seeing in fiscal year 26 is, a dedication, from personnel to asset management, in the form of, we've talked about signs, stop signs, things within our parks and buildings and grounds, identifying, depreciating assets and, having a replacement program. That will be in conjunction, it'll be cross-department, but that is one of the priorities of this department, as well as a, dedicated, explanation of a maintenance schedule and, maintenance expectations that can be communicated to the citizens. And better understanding of what that looks like. There has been, to my knowledge, and in discussions with, our lead within the department, there has been no roadmap or written documentation of what, maintenance and, management schedule looks like for the city of Bellevue for this department. So there is a focus, a personnel focus on, getting together that list and converting it into a schedule that can then be communicated to citizens and will also convert into better notifications before work is happening. And, just general better communications around maintenance and, what that schedule looks like. And that isn't necessarily reflected in, a particular piece of technology that is coming directly from personnel time.
You mentioned a particular street project. Which line item?
That is under, it's 50,000 under street construction.
Capital.
In capital, it's a capital expense.
So that's at the end. Page 3.
There are more streets identified that we could add on, but conservatively, we are identifying one. There are easily 2 to 3 that we could add to that list, but in order to continue to not, let our roads degrade, the Public Works Director and I have said we at least need to identify one project to address a year.
And the 100,000 grant is a pass-through in the construction and improvement. So there's $100,000 grant coming in, and then there's 100,007 going out on construction and improvement.
That is directly tied to the parks, grants. So that's directly tied to the 85 and 22.
There was 85, and then there was
85
an
and
additional
22.
100 also.
That's a streets grant, going after a streets grant.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was wondering, that's what that was. It's an income coming in and then a pass-through going out.
I forgot to put that in here.
They're 100,000 for a particular project. A grant. Street grant.
Well, we reduced that project, so.
We'll have to adjust on where we have.
That'll have to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy.
No, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. So
Yeah, you're right.
but
Say it again.
I wanna make sure there is 41,900 it says grants and there's parks, and I think this is a little bit of a melding it all together,
Mhm.
it's a little messy. And it's harder this way, and that says 85,000, and then 2 lines down from there, the 41,900 grants for streets. It says $100,000 there also, that's in income. And then on the way out for capital. It shows 107 under construction, total, yeah, capital, right, that's capital.
That's the parks one. The 22 carryover and the 85. That's the 107. And then we had reduced the 100 to the 50 under street, so we'll have to fix that there somewhere.
Yeah, so. I'm just trying to.
The 100 tied to the 100 to the street and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But 85 and 20,000,
85 and 22.
I so 20 and 85.
So 8,500 grants, parks 41,900.
Yeah.
And then 22 up top is a carryover and dedicated funds. That's a grant that was received in fiscal
Oh,
year,
gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
25,
I
and
was
that
looking
is the 107.
Okay, yeah. And then there's the 100,000 of income coming in. For the grant, for those streets, and then not going out and capital.
Yes, we'll have to get that cleaned up. Any other stuff?
I have a question about professional services. Line item 52050. There's nothing budgeted for FY 26. There was 7,000 budgeted for FY 25. Where did it go?
I think that was anticipated to be the engineering fees that we have separated out for the transportation plan under engineering and not professional services. So, let me go back up here in the engineering services.
But I think,
Okay, so we've spent, so we have an accounting I need to fix. We've spent 20,000 for engineering,
23,000.
19,354.57. See that?
Yeah, or in.
Okay. Those two go together, so, yeah. I need to clean that up.
Chris, do you want to comment on the professional service line?
It's something we just haven't used, it's always just been put in there, so I think we're just gonna reallocate it to, someone else that we're using. I need to go make a call here.
Okay,
I think this one is a little more, does need just a little more work, but, especially trying to combine it.
Yeah,
Because it's trying to
Yeah.
combine, but it's not really combined and it's
Yeah.
all separate and you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah,
So trying to make, and I know it probably makes it a little messy because it's muddying it a little bit.
in an effort to keep it clear before it gets combined, that's the reason we kept things a little separated. They weren't previously color coded.
sorry, I didn't continue the color coding. I
And
was
the
rushed for
intention is to put it all together,
Okay.
but at this time, that would have been, in our opinion, a little bit more confusing. So we wanted to, still keep it a little bit more clarified for you, as in other departments where you have repairs and maintenance, general, there's numbers here that are attached to it. Streets is 10, parks is 4, buildings and grounds is 9, and that's kind of the separation. There's a little legend at the top there.
Yeah.
But, the intention will be to clean that up, in those line items a little more for you.
I just had a couple of questions. They're yes and no questions
Okay.
about, what is in this particular part of the budget. Should we expect to see, maintenance and the crosswalk painting and proper safety, maintenance around the elementary school? Yes or no?
One thing we're looking about at, small equipment, I think we have 10,000 in there. We wanna get a paint striper, so we can actually do that and not look like we're painting the roads red on our knees with a paintbrush. So we will get an actual paint striper, we've got it priced out at just over $5,500. There's a potential one that we can look at. Haley has a used one, it's 3,500, but it's 10 years old. I think it's worth the investment to get a new one at 5,500, so we're not putting in more money for repairs.
So to answer that, that's a yes for paint striping, yes for signage, yes, a focus on safety. And in
Yeah,
at least
safety
those two,
maintenance around the school.
yes.
Thank you.
Chris, I don't know if you have looked into the methodology about ITDs, but I saw them doing their crosswalks and they had, like, I don't know what it was, some certain.
It's a thermal striping that's quite expensive.
Oh,
This,
I didn't know, it looked simpler when they were pulling it out, and I was
we
like,
can
oh,
do a
well,
high
that's.
grade paint, and with this machine, we'll be able to do straight stripes, crosswalks.
Thermal's about $1,000 for one across the highway. Roughly.
And is this something that the ERC can help with their grant process? Have you connected with them?
Send email Bear to connect with the face-to-face meeting soon.
Great,
But yeah, safe routes, should definitely be a resource of use.
We have a lift station that might be overflowing, I need to go.
Okay, thank you.
And does this include adding staff? I'm just trying to remember. We were talking about, we're maintaining, we're keeping, Casey.
Mhm.
And were we adding somebody else in this?
No, this is, no,
I couldn't
We
remember.
have two other.
yeah, so
Yeah.
3 people in the department.
Along with Chris, who's the
Mhm.
department head.
I know this is gonna be super popular. Does that do yes or no? Will the
That's
Main
not-
Street lights be repaired with this budget?
With this budget,
Yeah, like.
the current budget in front of you coming from the city hall, no.
Okay, that's totally.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The preliminary budget does include engineering services, for
Preparing.
repairing.
So that is being explored under the borough budget.
All right, thank you.
Hmm.
Will we be adopting any sort of work order management system for these departments to, improve our delivery of services and, make the staff more efficient?
Yes, not through technology, but through procedural and implementation. There's not a technology line item at this time for that.
Thank you. Does this budget include improved snow management so that the alleys are clear and we're not piling up snow in front of the library and blocking us into our driveways?
It does not include alley snow management, but it does include a better mapping and communication of snow storage areas.
Thank you.
By technology, is that referring to like the Esri?
So, sorry, the streets budget does not include the Esri technology in it, the other wastewater and water budget does.
But I was talking about a work order management.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I was just, thinking, oh, that there maybe probably are uses for a GIS system, so that, what?
yes, so that will be utilized via this does include asset management plan, but the burden of the technology is not in the streets department budget.
The other departments pay for that, but there might just be.
Because it
Lines.
ties into the work that the streets department will be doing in terms of identifying water valves. Areas like that, / there might be crossover if the water department is identifying those assets on a map, then when the streets is doing alley maintenance and clearing, they're helping the water department to make sure that's clear so that they can access the valves. So the the GIS equipment was funded in the water and wastewater fund.
Um, Okay, I see benefits to this department for GIS would be if you're identifying where there's a stop sign, and the stop sign is, now 10 years old and it's evaluate whether it should be replaced. We have a bit of a maintenance schedule as a result.
Of course, and a lot of that data, as we saw in the presentation yesterday, is coming over from our transportation study that was done. So a lot of that asset mapping that was done, that's why I had asked if those were gonna come over as GIS files for us, will be built upon and or verified and converted from, like I said, signage from poor to hopefully excellent. Start working through that list, and utilizing that information through GIS mapping.
The main question,
Yes, and if there's something I don't know and I need to bring Chris in, or I'll just let you know. I feel like I'm doing my best to answer, but this is through information from department head, so please continue.
and this is kind of expense percentage change from 2025.
Are we on the first page?
Essentially the first page.
Yeah.
That where we're talking about 11.75% change. So if the admin is largely consolidating, resulted in that expense. This department has the most percentage increase. And it's maybe kind of a general question about what exactly is going into, I guess it looks like wages, as I take a quick glance at this, wages is a significant change there from 141 to 206. That's the primary thing that's occurring that would
That and
result.
little by little properly funding things that were underfunded. We've been underfunding signs. We've been there's elements of things that have been identified by the department that are underfunded. So in order to try and get a little bit ahead, there's been some addition to those money pools, so that there is proper asset exchange happening, in terms of the purchasing of what is needed. So cold mix for filling potholes, sign replacement, equipment to do striping. So just a little bit more investment in being able to buy the right materials to do the work that's needed. So nominal increases in some of those line items, in addition to staffing changes.
But if we didn't, follow up, if we didn't add anybody, how is the budget up $60,000?
There were merit raises that were done, and there was an increase in our one staffing member who is willing to stay on for one more year.
There, I had a question, back to streetlights. Can I assume then that when you talked about wanting to make some of these line items a little bit more robust, that this $5,000, so it's a $3,000 increase from the previous year?
Yes, when analyzing that column, we have historically under budgeted even just for the electrical fixes, so that fiscal year to date is not up to date with some of the expenditures that have been
I was gonna say that.
there. Yes, and so I double checked that to just make sure that we're not overfunding by too much of an increase, but
Okay.
that is just simply for the electrical work to try and get some of the still operational lights going. And so there has been some electrician expense, and so while this that $5,000 line item does not fix the streetlights on Main Street, that is to make sure that there's money in there if electricians are needed for the functioning ones. If they get hit, they go out, anything happens there. That won't replace, but that will continue to keep the lights on the ones that are semi-functioning.
Are there any improvements to this building? I know some things were mentioned about concerns with this building, with the buildings and grounds. This include anything to?
This does consider the door replacement for Marcy's office.
Like an escape door.
The escape door, the security, or sorry, emergency door. Egress, thank you. The escape door.
Egress is a better term.
Marcy might have read this. Exit stage left.
Sorry.
Egress door.
I mean, I do think I unfortunately Chris has left the building on this one, but I do think there's value in looking at, an impactful project with these diff funds that are sitting here, in that streets that weren't considered, in this budget, so I just wanna put that on the table there. Go ahead.
Are there any new projects for the parks? I know you're working on the community initiative, but is there anything else? I'm just curious.
That is the project that is identified for 2026 is the community project, and that is solely focused on in the parks.
I have one more question. I'm sorry about the streets department. Is there any, new commitment to customer service and communication around streets? Those types of, in that city services, in that department?
Yes, that goes back to the maintenance schedule, that'll be a procedural commitment to maintenance schedule and early communications around what maintenance is happening. So any alley clearings, tree trimmings, sorry, thinking other maintenance, but yes, communication around that, and that will come from staff.
Okay.
Do you know why the auto equipment and lease has struggled? Like what's the proposal for that? There's two where it's.
That I believe is, that is the greater,
Well, it's adding the greater to the.
adding the greater to what already exists.
Which I think brings us back to the, a question about finance and oversight of some of these types of things. Is this the entire loader is now in this particular city asset?
The greater, the greater just
Greater,
came up, Chris,
greater.
we're on, we're looking at, the line item was street construction, sorry.
58150.
58150 auto equipment and lease. So the question was, what is in that 40,490? And then Suzanne's follow-up question is, where is the allocation of the expense of the greater, in who's bearing the burden? Is it 100% in streets or is it allocated to different funds?
Okay, so the total price there is, we have a loader, we have 5,500, and then the remainder, the grader. The grader's broken out under 3 departments: water, wastewater, and streets, even allocation.
And how do you justify that even allocation when the tool isn't used equally across all of those departments?
I mean, we do some summer maintenance on the roads with the grader, but 90% of it's used during the winter, and it allows us to access our manholes and our valves and keep the ice off the streets so we can access it. We have to use it to get out to the spring chlorine box, which is 2.5 miles, 3 miles up Bellevue Canyon Road, and they quit paving, or they quit winter maintenance there at Martin Canyon, so we still have about another 1.5 miles, and with the V plow on it, it'll allow us to get out there more efficiently and effectively and keep the road clear so we can do our rounds daily. We use it to get up the tank tower so we can do our rounds up there. And then we also plow the plant, around the plant, and the maintenance on the road going out to the plant with it. So it's used very much so for water and wastewater.
And so there would not be a more economical way to perform that work. So this is something, I mean, I think we've done some of the math. If you're saying it's 100 hours or 50 hours, this is the most economical way for our enterprise funds to perform that work. Is that correct?
for the work that we're trying to accomplish, it is the best tool that we can get. It's been very
Not,
effective.
not about the tool, Chris, I'm sorry, about the expense of performing that work, not about the tool. I value the tool, I think the tool is fabulous, but I don't think you can just decide to split it across 3 funds when it isn't used equally, and that you cannot say that it's worth $20,000 a year to that particular fund for 2 weeks of clearing things, when you could rent a piece of equipment for $25.
$20,000 a week.
Oh, that's not, well, those weren't the numbers that were previously provided or that were looked up, but. If you can present that, but I think it comes back to just that question of how we determine, what our fiscal oversight is of some of these types of decisions, because those enterprise funds are expressly to support themselves. And they're not to reduce costs for other, city resources. So currently, it's evenly split across all of them.
As,
Right.
as,
Yeah.
yeah, as confirmed, yes.
Thank you.
Well, we've gone through, all the categories, in the general fund for tonight, so, I would say if there's department head questions, or if there are, you know, general consensus items that council does not want to fund in this budget,
Why don't we
now's
take,
the time to start putting it on the
could we
table.
take a 5-minute break and,
We could, but the intention is not for this meeting to go past 8:30.
oh,
Sorry,
all right,
we've got about,
And what would be, or just making sure, what will have to come of this meeting? Do we have to make the cuts? Can we?
if you
There have
feel,
been plenty of things that have been brought to the table that we could adjust, relook at, clean up a little bit, and then be able to come back so that.
that would take adding one more session between now and the 28th.
what if we just tackle the low hanging fruit and say. Library budget, you're good. That's just an example.
I think now is the time to start those discussions. I do think that there are, a few fixes that we will make sure that happen. But I think that can be in conjunction with some of the things that you guys would like to put on the table. And those also are, ideas, you know, like things that Tammy has presented with using the IF fund. So there's, I think now is the time to look at that analysis and see what you deem as the low hanging fruit, Diane. Because what you deem as the low hanging fruit might not be what Jessica deems as the low hanging fruit. So I think we need to hear from you.
I'm good with the library, Mayor.
Okay?
Whatever, that's the low hanging fruit. I still think as much as I think it's important that we should have appropriate numbers more than just. Cause some of these things could mean a drastic change, you know, and looking at 90,000 versus 30,000 or 60,000, or especially if. We can adjust some of the outstanding budgets using the, you know, the IF funds. If that's something appropriate.
Okay, so the only thing I have marked as an adjustment for appropriate numbers is cleaning up that discrepancy between the 150 in streets. Let me just make sure if I see any other watch notes. Did you have any other notes? And then the payroll COLA in the community development department.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I think,
Double check that.
but I think even just those are parties just to make. No, for sure.
A couple $1,000.
but yes,
But I mean, it could mean books for the library, and I don't mean take it from it, I'm saying that's all she has in that, I know.
And and then what the miscellaneous income.
for the marshals,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, that's enough. Is that enough? Okay.
the health insurance, there was a question about the timing, is that like? You know, that kind of came up during the marshal's discussion, is that health insurance for all city employees, it's not really specific, unique type of health insurance?
So as the marshal was saying, it could be up to 18,000 citywide. Which would then apply to all employees across all departments.
And so, is there potential savings there, we don't know about? In general, there isn't ever savings with health insurance, it's
That
always.
was roughly the savings was the $18,000 city hold.
Some of that would be water, wastewater, and then general fund. Right now, it's at 12,600 per employee, which is what our last year's rates were.
So these numbers essentially are kind of using last year's.
Exactly,
That's all we got.
insurance can't give us updated numbers yet.
We just got it today.
Yeah.
For our prior insurance or our present. Did they go, so.
So what are we doing right now?
Trying to decide, yeah, trying to decide,
Places
do
to
we
look
just
at.
cut something?
I think
Okay,
I have
look
it.
at professional services and community development, since that seems to be the thing of this year. And we now have 2 staff members that should, hopefully be able to cut into that, I would hope, unless this has been a long-standing thing and it just doesn't appear. Previously, or there's,
Are you looking at the Doppel line?
yeah, is that what is that?
So again, Brian,
Yeah, double.
that is, we're contractually obligated to spend to 65% of whatever our building permits are, and that.
So the 70,000 on your revenue,
Yeah,
okay,
got it.
directly 45,500 goes to Doppel.
So
So
that,
that's just a straight payment, and that is a product of, sadly, a product of success.
Right.
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and our contracted services with Doppel.
What are the contracted services about? That's what I don't get, sorry.
Plan review and buildings.
And how did we do that before then? Where does it, why do I not see it till this year, I guess is what I didn't
It's-
understand.
It was
It was
called
DBS.
DBS
So
prior,
Somewhere else.
Yeah, it used to be called something else, but. it was-
Division of Building Safety.
And then
Right.
changed.
So
the
if you
name.
go to your
Right, I
first,
see the cross out
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Got it.
and then it drops down and it becomes professional.
I was just making, I'm gonna make a presentation.
A private or so, yeah. Okay.
Built
Yeah.
safe, built.
Yep.
right there.
And the 65% is a figure that we negotiated. Prior.
Well, I think it's a good use of contract work, right? I mean, contract hours, certain. Okay,
Well, we need to have building official, so.
but aren't they, oh, okay.
We at the time don't have another option. So yes, it is.
It's our only option.
And those contracts get renewed every year, if Doppel goes bad, it says.
It's a 3-year term, if I remember correctly, so it's more than.
Right as Brian was coming on, it was, do we go Doppel, do we pursue this other private group to work with? And the analysis was move forward with Doppel. And so we could definitely look at what
We
the
look into
contract
it
term
again.
is, but we continue to look into it.
What I spoke with the planning staff at Haley on this, they did the analysis for themselves, it was. Much better customer service, aspects for take those versus Doppel, but it. Higher expense.
Higher expense, okay.
Just out of curiosity, does this, budget include the, document management for the city clerk or part of?
Yes, it does,
Right.
right above the cell line, you see the records management line.
Great.
I have an ugly suggestion. Well, I love for, I stepped out of the room, so he's up for that right now.
I'll quit.
I know, he's down 1, down to 3. and I'm just making it, talking out loud. What if we don't fund the fifth officer right at this moment? Right, because we have other obligations, other things to do. Not, I'm not saying it's not a priority, but then it also, then we can also say that we're going to increase revenue and go out for the lot because we want to increase our safety for the city and look for the citizens to help get behind that just as much. And then that would be a great way to allocate funds for emergency services or, you know, something to that. There's a direct nexus then to, and especially
Safety.
around alcohol.
Public safety.
Yes.
Easy sell.
Easy sell.
Thank you very much.
Great.
So you hold off
Andy,
for
you are
3
hot.
months.
I have a lot of, so to backstep a little and tie that together, a lot of that, education around, alcohol awareness for our license holders, was a work initiative step in the direction of public safety. And you're tracking right on the line of, lot taxes going towards public safety, which can look a lot of different ways, right? That can look at proper lighting of our crosswalks, that can look at proper striping, that can look at another officer. So public safety would definitely be an earmark for the lots and the communication around it.
Cause then it would give him time he's gotta get that fourth officer up. Get that one going, and then we can continue. I mean, I will commit to helping with the lot tax and the campaign for that.
I do wanna let you know that the lot tax, while will be beneficial, it will potentially fund maybe a quarter, if that, of an officer. So it doesn't bridge the gap.
But I think we also need to look at what other, I know I am sure of it based on the DIF funds and the way we can look at some of our, closing out our debt, especially as it reads in the code. If we can close out some of that debt also at the same time, looking at, I mean, if we're trying to, or we're not trying to have another meeting, are we not trying to have another meeting? Cause if we're not trying to have another meeting, I mean, if we're trying to not have another meeting, then we cut the office, right? We cut your thing by 20,000, down 20,000. And I'm just picking, or I'm saying, your safety, your 40,000 down to 20,000.
No, that isn't what I proposed.
I know, whatever you proposed. So I was trying to pick up on something so that then it stays in line with the safety again. But we come back, there has to be work for this budget, it has to be cleaned up, we have.
We have to have another meeting. I don't see any way through this in the next 15 minutes.
No,
And there's, like you said, there's some cleanup that needs to happen for us to make sure that we've got some accurate numbers to deal with.
Kurt, can you answer it? So how many, so when you have 4 officers, what was your guys' shift and schedule like then when you had 4? And then if somebody was out sick, you were still working these long
So-
shifts?
I believe the city needs to be covered 24/7. And that, so if somebody with 4 officers, if somebody. Most of the time, if somebody's sick, you come to work sick. We don't have a choice but to do that. If you're gonna take vacation, when you go to training, somebody else covers that. You're automatic overtime anytime somebody takes any time off.
Weren't we originally discussing with the amount of overtime there was this last year that would pay?
If
for
you
the
notice,
work
it's only
officers?
$43,000 different than last year's budget
Okay.
and this year's budget. Most cities fund their police department at about 45%. Even with this increase, I'm funded at 29%.
45% of the.
General fund. And I'm still at 29%, even with this increase.
So what I would like to propose is that we put another meeting on the schedule between now and the next meeting. That we do the minor cleanups that were identified in terms of the numbers. And that we explore with our department heads the DIF funds. Because I'm not hearing anything from the table that says, unless I haven't heard it yet, that I believe we should cut wholeheartedly this
Oh,
at this time.
I said that.
Which one did you say? I didn't catch it.
I spoke about accounting. I think that is an area where,
Our staffing?
our staffing.
Okay.
So I did say that, but I.
You would like to see it read out. Can you be very explicit of what you would like to see?
Yes, I actually, believe that AR and payroll are able to be done, with most accounting systems now, inclusive of Percy. There's just such a huge array, and that if you have a treasurer, especially in a small environment where it's very common of cities of our size to have a mixed treasurer, city clerk, as we used to with Marion, that we have to respect that we just cannot support this type of administrative costs at our city clerk and accounting, and yet both are valuable positions, but we cannot have three.
Okay,
If
so
that makes sense.
can I get more clarity on exactly what you would do?
That I think I would look at Shelley to have oversight using the proper technology to take over the payroll. And or if she didn't want to take over the payroll, we could use Gusto or something like that. It's in
So
a Percy.
Your recommendation would be to eliminate the deputy clerk accounts AP
Yes.
position. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Is anyone on council in favor of exploring that option, in addition to Suzanne?
I think we've gotten ourselves in a lot of liability the city had in previous years, trying to make our clerk do multiple jobs that then you're forced to do and you fail. And then it has previously put the city in libelous position and even, yeah, I appreciate being lean. I appreciate not being overstaffed, but I am not the least bit interested in opening up the city of Bellevue for liabilities that happen when there's not the appropriate oversight over, especially finances. We've got enough issues.
Can I speak?
Yes, let's do.
That clerk works full-time processing AP and payroll. There's no way I could do my job and that job. No physical way.
Well, I'm happy to do a presentation about how it would work. So, and I'm not suggesting.
I understand the concept of
Yeah.
sending payroll out.
I know
We
you,
could contract that out.
Right.
I understand all that. I just don't believe that that's the best way for us to handle it.
Thank you for putting an idea on the table. I'm not hearing other council support. And it is not my recommendation to eliminate the position. So, does anyone else have an idea to put on the table? Because while I understand that not all ideas are favorable, coming up with a solution is appreciated and proposing something is appreciated.
and I liked yours a lot. I just would not support a lot tax at this time, but I thought your suggestion was a great one too.
And then what about also, again, these are ideas. Removing, I mean, I don't know how much, but just to that point, our capital expense in streets like that for a piece of equipment, that's a huge piece of equipment. Maybe that's not something we can budget for this year at this time. Is that something we can decide to put off until next year, and could it be, is that really a priority for us to acquire that?
I would say, Chris, I would like to speak and then I'd like you to speak to this. I would say that if that is the case, then I would highly recommend, increasing the contingency fund in the streets department, because if that piece of equipment goes out, then we will have to either quickly replace the equipment or replace it with contracted staff. And so if we eliminate the purchase of the equipment, I would recommend making sure that there is appropriate funds for failed equipment. But I would love the department head to speak to that.
I agree, Mayor, either contingency funds or increase the, plow funds, so plow funds for contracted labor. That truck is gonna die, whether it's this year or next year, but that grader is gonna die one of these days. And it is our primary means to clean the roadways from residents to 75. We use our small trucks to back it up, but it cleans the route so people can get to work, so children get to school. If we don't clean that, we're gonna have to contract it.
I just think it would be irresponsible to not earmark funds. In case that piece of equipment goes out. Sorry.
What would it look like if we did, contract out that, more so especially for the uses that are stipulated? Would, would we save money even making that contractual agreement now?
Was that, did you respond to her
Yeah,
question?
yeah,
Okay,
I'm sorry, she was not-
I was like, I didn't know if you answered your own question or I missed that. Okay.
I would say, if you look at the amount that we're asking for there in that line, was it 40,000? And so of that, that's 17,300 for the grader itself, coming out of the streets budget. 17,000. If you look at this year's snow removal cost for, contracted snow removal, it would be about, what, 15 grand a month for 3 months?
Yeah.
We're at 45,000.
47,
Okay.
we're at 47.
So now we have a piece of equipment with 1 year payment that we are contracting for 1 month's of work, and that we can use for the rest of the year.
Just to throw a little bit of another wrench into this, I do not believe that this number will be this small ultimately. That when we get to the water and wastewater, that there is not,
Which is-
I'm talking about the grader. The grader number, it is not able to be fiscally defended, those other two, funds share a third of the cost, and that will bring some of that cost back into, the general fund, just FYI. I'm just telling you, cannot defend by hours and costs, it's not a fiscally responsible decision, and it is very obvious in the math. So I think we should be aware that some of that hoped for sharing of cost is gonna come back into the street budget. Does that make sense? Did anyone follow me?
I followed what you said. Thank you.
Well, unless anybody else has any other.
So I'll just reiterate it again, cleaning up of numbers. We will add another work session to the calendar and we will explore the DIF funds with our department heads.
Works for me. Should we talk date right now, because we only have a week?
Yes.
The next session is the 28th, is that correct?
So it's gonna be between now and the 28th.
And I'm on vacation the next 2 weeks, so I won't be out of them. I'm the meeting line now.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were serious or not.
Were you gonna tell him anything?
Okay.
Do you see my face? I'm still like, I don't get it. Is there a joke in there somewhere?
So do we have a P and Z meeting on the 21st? Okay, so can anyone do the 21st or the 22nd?
22nd, we have a borough meeting in the afternoon. Correct.
And then there's events committee meeting as well on the 22nd.
How about the 21st to the 23rd?
I can do either.
I will be participating remotely if I can, I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay,
I should be able to participate remotely.
okay.
Peter knows.
Maybe the Wednesday.
I think that gives it gives a little more staff time. I feel like that, the Wednesday feels appropriate if that works for everyone. Shelley?
Yes,
She go to like, because it's not her birthday.
that's right, Monday's my birthday.
Oh, then we're not.
Oh,
doing
you
it.
should have
You
said
don't wanna
that.
celebrate with us, Shelley?
But you kind of should have said that. So we didn't need that go.
Yeah, but I only have until like 6:45, 6:50.
Could we start earlier?
I mean, so if we start at 5:30 and things look good, we don't have to go very long. Yeah,
Could we start earlier?
I mean, I still have to work earlier, but I mean,
What time what's the earliest you could get here?
probably 5 o'clock.
Okay, could everyone do a 5 o'clock start time on the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay, look at,
5 o'clock on the 23rd.
okay, and, we will also work to get the data, and all this information to you by Monday, the 21st. So that you have time to review it. Assuming we won't have to make any other changes so that everyone will be prepared to have the final discussions.
I think we're pretty adjourned.
That night of the final discussions on the 28th.
The balance that was on the 28th, so, but the discussions of if anything needs to be cut, kind of what we're all looking at, I can't say if we're gonna have to cut right now because we have some exploration to do, so.
Is the 28th a public hearing?
The 28th, you need to adopt the tentative budget, because I have to publish it. So we need to have the final numbers at your next meeting established, so that the 28th or 25th or whatever day that is,
The 28th.
you are saying, we're a go.
It seems to me that's an appropriate time to have a public hearing, as opposed to having a public hearing in August when we've already essentially decided the budget. I've always felt this about city's budget, honestly, is when it's decided and you have a public hearing after it's decided.
Public hearing?
what's the
Yeah.
point?
Do we have to put notice in?
No, do we have time to notice for a public hearing on the 20th?
No, because
No. I have to publish for 2 weeks.
Well, I'm just saying, that it's my opinion. My opinion that you don't have a public hearing after the budget is essentially decided. That's all. It's my opinion that the city should be having. Invited the public to comment, we appreciated that comment that came in today, I think. And that was appropriately and a timely comment.
Mhm.
And to have a public hearing in August after the budget is essentially decided is cynical government, frankly.
it would be wise too. It would be cool if our newspaper reporter people could really promote the fact that the public can attend these meetings, that they are public also. And so that if you want to continue to contribute to the development of the budget as we want it to reflect the goals and objectives, please come to these awesome meetings.
Yes, we're reading the paper now.
That's so awesome. I knew that was coming.
Well, I don't know that it's.
Tom, I appreciate your feedback on that, I think, in the future. Had that come at the beginning, we could have made some changes to the process. If there's a way for us to engage before August, I'm happy to continue to pursue that, but.
And maybe it's not a fully noticed or an adequately noticed public hearing, but at least it's on the calendar, that's on the website, and there's something on the door that
I
says the
mean,
public's invited.
I mean, would it hurt to
The
take
law
public
requires-
comment on the 28th? I don't think it would hurt to take public comment on the 28th, that doesn't,
Doesn't mean
it's not
you
a
can't
public
do it.
hearing, but I'm more than happy to open it up for
I think
public
it's a
comment.
great solution.
And we can make sure that it's known that we're taking public comment, as we have done on other agenda items.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's
Let's,
great.
does that feel like a solution for all council?
No, that's great.
Okay,
I know
so
have
we
to
will
do
take,
it In August, and there's rules, but.
let's plan to take public comment. Thank you for all that feedback. Let's
Yeah,
plan to take
so-
public comment, and Tony, make sure that's noted. We're gonna be taking public comment on the 28th.
Noted.
Thank you. Okay,
You.
I feel that we have reached the end of this meeting.
There was a
I'm-
motion on the table.
Otherwise, we didn't
But
hear
it
it.
had died. I know. I would like to repeat my motion.
Okay.
Motion we adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Somehow I got 10